across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very, very good morning to you. This is Talk, the home of common sense, with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. I'm hoping we're all feeling a little bit more breezy today after probably having a rather better night's sleep last night, despite the heat. I hope you're coping. But we will all survive nevertheless. I know they still don't think we will, but third heat wave in a row, we're still going to make it. And whether you're listening on DAB+ radio or on your smart speaker, watching on YouTube or your connected device, at work, at home, in the car, I don't know, sitting in the garden. What are you doing in the garden? It's way too hot. Great to have your company. If you miss anything from the show, you missed anything all week, go to my YouTube page, Julia Hartley-Brewer Show. Hit subscribe and you never have to miss a thing. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be discussing early release of criminals. It's happening in September, again, like it did last year. This time, though, yeah, only a ridiculous amount of time through, just a third through their sentences. People who have, I don't know, killed people, raped people, committed sexual assault on people, they will be among those who are going to be released. Well, Kemi Badenoch is among those trying to stop that from happening. And indeed, big concern from the prison's watchdog about that and how those people will be sort of, should we say, kept an eye on and looked after in large groups when they are released. We'll talk about that. There's a vote in Parliament today. We're also going to be talking about 100,000 people claiming benefits for ADHD. Why you need extra money because you've got ADHD, and why we think that a 40% increase in just 2 years, largely young people under the age of 24, is likely to be a genuine issue, or people finally getting the diagnosis they need, or, frankly, a load of people taking the sodding mick. Because when you're getting those diagnoses and you're getting your PIP, you don't even have to look for work. How's that going to work out for those individuals? Oh, and indeed, this country and the Treasury's coffers. We'll talk about all of that. Plus, what is going on with Reform UK leader Nigel Farage? He's been referred to the Parliament Standards Commissioner over donations he received in kind from the convicted fraudster George Cottrell. He's going to be interviewed by the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner over that £5 million gift from a crypto billionaire. And he's had a bit of a set too with the media over allegations of them basically revealing his daughter's address in public and harassing her. And we're going to talk more about what's been going on in the World Cup. FIFA President Gianni Infantino facing growing calls to resign. I mean, surely we were just calling for that every day anyway, after the football governing body overturned that World Cup suspension to the US striker Florian Balogun after being pressured by Donald Trump. Interestingly, of course, and what a shame, they lost that match, so they're out 4-1 to Belgium. Well done, Belgium. You had the entire world behind you yesterday. And the latest shenanigans between Prince Harry and the King. The King refused a last-minute request from Prince Harry to stay at Buckingham Palace after losing patience with his son's indecision. Oh, yeah, and about 2 o'clock today, we're going to get the verdict in the latest, I think it's a final big case that Prince Harry is bringing, along with other celebrities, Elton John, others included, against newspapers in this country, this time the Mail and the Mail on Sunday, over alleged claims of criminal wrongdoing and harassment, phone hacking and the like. We'll find out more about that later on. That, of course, will be Ian Collinsshire. Anyway, joining me today, and I know you're all going to be very happy about this because he was a regular on the show every Monday for a very long time, and he's back today by popular demand. Commentator, guess who? Sam Armstrong. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is very, very lovely to have you back, but I need to apologise for the fact that I yet again have cold whenever I see you.
Yes.
But also, our aircon is on the blink, and you and I are both wearing quite thick jackets, so...
Quite the day to be in an all-glass tower. It's basically
yes,
like a
isn't
mega
it just?
greenhouse.
It's a lovely building, lovely views.
Quite.
But, you know, you're a very big favourite with our audience. We're very, very happy to have you here. There's an awful lot of people to get their teeth in today. As always, you know the score. You get to decide what you want to call in about, whether it is about early release of defenders, whether it's about Nigel Farage. He's saying, look, you know, this is basically the establishment witch hunt against him. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, what's going on about FIFA. I've been saying for years, for the love of God, let's just set up the rival to FIFA and get rid of all the dodgy corruption shenanigans. Prince Harry, King, you name it, you can call in. But in particular, a question I put out this morning on social media, a lot of response to this is more than 100,000 people with ADHD are getting disability benefits with no need to look for a job. It's up 40% in just 2 years under Labour. What would you do to tackle this crisis? And I'm sorry, it is a crisis. It's a crisis for those young people who frankly don't have a disability, and indeed it's a crisis for our finances in our country. Give us a call, 0344 499 1000, text the word talk in your message to 87222, get in touch with us on X at Talk TV, calls to charge the national rate, and text costs one standard network rate message. Anyway, Sam, I'm going to come to that in just a moment because I do want to talk about this early release of sex offenders because I'm sorry, all these stories affect all of us actually. Well, maybe Prince Harry doesn't. I mean, I'm not that bothered about where Prince Harry stays. I'm more worried about where I stay, But I have to say, if someone offered me, a bedroom in Buckingham Palace, I might have said yes or no on the day, but call me old-fashioned. But Kemi Badenoch is urging Labour MPs to back a bid today in a vote that's happening in Parliament today over this Sentencing Act, which Labour is bringing in. And she wants to put an amendment, basically, to stop this plan to allow sex offenders to be released early. Now, we saw a mass release of pretty serious offenders, including domestic abusers, last September, or September before. I mean, it's happening all the time now. There is no space in prisons. So in order, hilariously, because it is funny in its own sick way, to enable the prison system to take in more serious, violent and sex offenders, they need to free up space by releasing serious violent sex offenders from prison early. And you can serve just a third of your sentence if you demonstrate good behaviour behind bars. So you haven't killed anyone behind bars, you get out. Rapists will have to serve at least half of their sentence. But, a third of you, two-thirds was a joke, half was a joke, a third is even more of a joke and an insult. And she wants Labour MPs to back her. Andy Burnham, who's likely to be PM within a fortnight, has indicated he doesn't support this measure either. But we're told we don't have enough prison places. Labour is building, I think, 14,000 more. Yeah. Tories were on track to build some more. Whatever they're building ain't enough, though, is it?
No, and look, I respect what Kemi Badenoch is saying here, but let's be clear, the chronic failure to build adequate prison places occurred under 14 years of Tory administration, and they had plenty of money to shovel out in foreign aid. They had plenty of money to shovel out in DEI schemes. They had an opportunity to deliver this country the basic common sense governance that all of us would expect from a party that calls itself Conservative, and they abjectly failed. And Kemi Badenoch shares her responsibility in that she was
in the
minister. She voted for each and every one of these budgets that led to precisely the problem that she now says she's trying to solve. Labour has basically not done much on building prisons, by the way. It has, in essence, carried on the failed policy from before. And the truth is that politicians don't want to spend money on prisons. Because
which is madness, because actually it would be a very popular move.
Yeah, but not popular with the people that are going to give them jobs when they leave office. Not the green companies, the net zero gigs that so many of them go on to do.
I don't know, couldn't they build prisons and then put trans progress flags all over them? That would keep everyone happy. They could have diversity classes for them and everyone would be happy.
But you know who this is disgraceful, beyond disgraceful for? The young grooming gang victim who was abused in the most appalling ways imaginable, that was dragged through a court process to see the perpetrator of what was done to them go to prison. And after having dealt that ordeal and thinking, goodness me, they're going to have to throw away the key, first to be told, no, they're not going to throw away the key. He's got a term of, say, 8 years for some of these people. Then to be told, oh, no, he's going to serve half of it. And then, years later, when they're just about putting their lives back together, to get a letter through the post from the government to say, no, the person who did the worst things imaginable to you is going to be out on the street next week. Why? Because the politicians failed to do their basic job, which is to maintain law and order in this country, to keep the facilities we need.
Number one job, the borders, not doing that. Second job, law and order within the borders. Kemi Badenoch right now is giving a speech, by the way, at a rally in London on defence spending, saying that defence should be Andy Burnham's #1 priority. The government's defence investment plan, she says, is not fit for purpose. I mean, frankly, even the last Labour Defence Secretary and previous Labour Defence Secretary don't think it is, so we're in agreement on that. But she's going to be meeting with the victims of sex attacks, including child sex grooming gangs, including Fiona Goddard. She's one of the victims who's waived her right to anonymity. Incredibly brave, fantastic woman. And she said, the state failed us when we were children. Now it feels as though we're being failed all over again. It's not fair. We spent years fighting for justice, reliving reliving the worst things that happened to us, only to be told by email that violent offenders may be released early because prisons are overcrowded. I always knew these men would be released one day, but I believed I had more time to rebuild my life and prepare myself for that reality. Finding out they may be released early has completely set me back. I barely left the house. I feel constantly anxious, frightened and unsafe. I can barely sleep. You know, she was basically, you know, groomed and raped from the age of 14. I mean, it's just appalling. Labour interestingly saying they're considering an emergency law to deport that grooming gang leader. This is Shabir Ahmed, who served 14 years of his 22-year sentence for 30 child rape cases. He got less than 6 months for each of those child rape cases. These convictions. By the way, again, those are just the ones he was actually convicted of. That's the ones they brought. I mean, it was happening every day, you know. I mean, but also, there were 2 separate trials. There were ones involving white victims, and there was an Asian victim. And that was a separate trial. He got 19 years for the other case and 22 years, and they ran concurrently instead of consecutively. Why was he not charged? And why was he not sentenced for each one of those crimes individually? Basically, if you're going to be a child rapist, you know what, you may as well rape 40 instead of 1, because the sentence is basically the same. I mean, we're literally incentivising child sodding rapists.
He got less per child rape than Lucy Connolly got for a single ill-judged tweet.
That's the reality.
And as far as I'm concerned, Julia, why are these people ever getting released at all?
This is the thing.
Why do we
Forget
need
early
them back
release
in our society?
Yeah, I want like people like him. I want them to be sentenced to effectively, you know, 2,500 years behind bars, never coming out, quite apart from the fact you're on a plane to Pakistan. If they don't let you land, we may or may not give you a parachute, as I wrote in my Sun column last week. Now, here's the thing. The government is saying, oh, we're looking at whether we can have emergency law. You could have brought an emergency law in last Saturday. I wrote in my column, I mean, one of my callers on the Thursday was saying, remember the British Steel? They all came to save British Steel. All the MPs turned up on a Saturday to vote to save British Steel because it was a national security issue. I consider girls being protected from child rapists to be a national security issue also. They could do that tomorrow. They could do it today. Literally today. You can draft 2 amendments. I mean, Tories really put amendment in. But either way, a one-line bill. This man needs to be deported. End of. Done.
And if Pakistan don't want to take him back, I'm sorry, but we send you tens of millions of pounds still for goodness knows what reason in foreign aid. Well, you're not having a penny of that. There's not a single extra Pakistani citizen coming into this country until you take back the wrong uns that you've sent here already.
But no one will do this. Why would they do this? And here's the thing, going back to the prisons issue, I remember having a conversation, and we're talking about around 2012 with David Cameron in a studio in another life. And talking about how, you know, you need to spend more on prisons. And he was saying, well, it's all very well. You know, if you want to lock people up for longer, you need more prisons. That means spending more on prisons. That means putting people's taxes up. I went, seriously? I would more than happily. You tell me how much my taxes have to go up by for shoplifters to be in prison, for child rapists and stuff to be in forever. Tell me, I will send you a cheque. And I said, I believe that the public would support that. I genuinely believe. It's like, do you want your taxes to go up so that 100,000 18-year-olds can claim for ADHD on benefits? Absolutely not. Do you want to keep, you know, child rapists behind bars for the rest of their lives, and for people who do commit repeated so-called petty crime? Shoplifting isn't a petty crime when you're stealing at the levels people are doing. Behind, you know, going to prison so they also get proper punishment. I think people would say yes, but I'll pay extra tax for that.
And by the way, like, we should be clear about, like, they're all big numbers, and I think people at home get, you know, it's hard to keep track of them. But by building new prisons and staffing them is unbelievably cheap compared to the other stuff that the government is paying for.
And also the cost of crime, the cost of your insurance. Every time your phone is stolen, that, you know, the cost of the cost of the breakdown of our society and the lack of trust, and the when you're walking along the street holding your phone, people not being someone getting like a nice watch as a you know an anniversary gift or something, and thinking I can't wear it in the street, or you know, the way I behave now with my bag, way I behave now with strangers in the street who come to ask me for directions. That's how my bag was stolen, because I was giving someone directions, and then someone else, as part of their little gang, stole my bag. I now have someone. I'm literally. It's a breakdown of society when you have that breakdown of law and order. Look, you and I, you know, we could talk about this for hours, but let's get on to these ADHD kids. largely kids. We are talking about 100,207 people currently being paid disability benefits without any requirement to look for work. That's the mind-blowing bit. These are personal independence payments. For ADHD is the main condition. That is up 40% in just 2 years since Labour came to power. It was around 71,000 before. More than half of claimants for the neurodevelopmental condition are aged between 16 and 24. Nearly 2/3 of young people cite ADHD, autism, depression or anxiety as their main disability. That's up from almost half in 2020. Those claiming this for ADHD, 4 in 10 of them are receiving the top rate of daily living and mobility allowances, worth up to £194 a week, on top of other benefits and no requirement to look for work. I don't understand. If you're in a wheelchair and you need like a car for mobility, you need a carer to help you, sort of get dressed or get in the, come downstairs or whatever it is. If you have your home, adapted, there are various disabilities. If you're blind or, there are clearly disabilities where you're going to need, there are extra costs to your life. I do not understand why having ADHD adds any extra cost to your life and why you can't go and get a job. There may be jobs you can't do. Well, I can't be a ballerina or there are plenty of jobs I can't do. I can't be a neurosurgeon, but it doesn't mean I can claim benefits because I can't.
Yeah, and this is the reason, the single biggest reason why we can't afford to pay for anything right now. Why you see, in order to fund defence, we have to cancel roads getting built. It's because the benefits bill has exploded, because it isn't fair. People are cheating. They're getting away with it. Everybody knows somebody that is swinging the lead. And as a result of Keir Starmer's inability to get even the most basic changes through Parliament, this bill is going to continue to go up and up and up. Each person who is not even on the disability side, but just is out of work, the cost to the taxpayer is between 15 and 20 grand per person. For every 2 of them that we get off this, and there's 40,000 here, we could hire a new prison officer to lock up these people. So with these 40,000, that's 20,000 new prison officers. That would basically allow us to increase the size of the prison estate by 50%.
Or even just even have more prison officers in the actual prisons we've got right now, so people weren't locked up 23 hours a day doing drugs, which is what they're currently doing. Instead of, a lot of people behind prison cells, they don't even how to read and write. We've got some basic skill levels here. It's mind-blowing to me, and I know from talking to doctors and teachers in tough inner-city schools where you've got a lot of kids who've been diagnosed, and there are 2 groups, aren't there? There's the, let's get a load of benefits, great, don't ever have to work, benefit street. And then there's also, round my way, there's the posh middle-class parents who are looking for excuse because little Jemima or a little, Archibald isn't a straight-A star student. And so there must be a reason. And an awful lot of it, and, head teachers of schools where they probably have some difficult pupils, they say the vast majority of these youngsters, it's a parenting issue. It is not, even if they do have some issue, it's an issue that could be dealt with by routine, bedtimes, calm home lives, quiet, not being on gadgets till 3 in the morning, no fizzy drinks. That's a general rule anyway. A healthy diet, physical exercise. And again, it's largely young boys, isn't it? And I'm sorry, it's depressed girls and it's ADHD hyperactive boys. That's because, with all due respect, children, husbands and dogs need a daily physical outing. I have discovered this over the years. It's very, very simple. You need to be run around and made tired. Every woman in the world knows this. You need to be physically made tired all day just so you can cope with life. Back me up, ladies, back me up. And I'm sorry, it's just bad parenting. And everyone needs to get off their gadgets and start parenting their kids properly and stop making excuses. And even if your child, and everyone's on a spectrum, we're told we're all on the spectrum. Well, yeah, unless you're at the far end. And like autism, I have interviewed mums with kids who are virtually like animals. Feral. Literally how, these women are coping on a day-to-day basis. The kids turning up the house, doing their best. With older children who are beautifully behaved, there is no, they are doing their best. So sometimes it's impossible to deal with. I get that. But that's not the majority of these people.
Yeah, if it's a third of kids or half of kids, as it is in some class, that is not a mental disorder.
No.
That is a personality trait.
Yes.
And I was a total nightmare for my poor mother, my dear mother, when I was a boy.
Not.
But she knew exactly what you said, which is the best thing to do with me is to make me go and run around the garden, and I would
Seriously.
normally come back, and then I was
Kids
prepared
don't
to
do
do my
enough
homework.
exercise.
No.
They're not out, like, just doing physically being tired out.
And dads need to do their bit as well, by the way,
Yeah.
which is, you know, this is some people perhaps attack me for sexism, but dads are particularly good at disciplining children. Children are more scared of their
my
father.
husband, he was the most sort of placid person in the world. I mean, he'd have to be, right? He just has to clear his throat.
Yes.
I mean, literally, just like, I mean, everyone stands to attention. You know, there is everyone I know, even a woman like me goes, no, wait till your dad gets home.
Yeah,
come on, everyone know. And if your dad's not there, Dad's not doing his job. Simple as that. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Give us a call 0344 499 1000. And yeah, I completely accept there are genuine cases. But again, the genuine cases, they need help, and the families need help, and the youngsters need help. I get that. But also, when all these sodding, silly women celebrities, you know, I don't know, the Lily Allens and whatever, who go, oh, I can't concentrate. No, that's because you're off your head on cocaine for half your life, you silly tart. Well, I'm sorry. Don't claim you've got a mental health disability when you've just been... It just really annoys me. Like, oh, this is why I can't concentrate. No, that's not why. I mean, there we are. Anyway, let's talk about Nigel Farage. A lot of pressure mounting on him. He seems to be feeling the pressure as well. Allegations not just about the 5 million quid that he got as a gift, help for security, whichever it is, none of my business, he told me the other week, from Christopher Harborne, the crypto billionaire, but also with the help he's received in kind, benefits, support, some staff from George Cottrell. Now, you'll know George Cottrell.
He's a friend of mine.
You know, Posh George. He is a convicted fraudster. I mean, and not, you know, it's not something that happened in his long distance past.
Well, come on, he was a younger man at the time, and there are
How much
plenty
younger?
I think he was about 20. He's now 32. He's my age. It was a mistake.
All right, okay.
By the way, David Dickinson, Richard Branson, Stephen Fry, all of the, you know, lots of people in public life made mistakes when they're younger.
Yes, OK, all right, we'll say that.
Made
However,
a contribution.
OK, now, once again, Nigel Farage is saying this is personal stuff, it's nothing to do with politics. It was before he was an MP, he didn't have to declare. He's now being investigated by the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner over both these issues. Interestingly, we're now told in the next couple of weeks he's going to be interviewed by the Parliamentary Watchdog. I have to say, I always find it astonishing with these investigations where they don't interview the person who the allegations are about rather early on and just say, can we just get an initial interview about what your defence is, for instance? Look, I've always been of the view, you know, he absolutely needs money for security. I've got no question at all about that. We've got a clip of him confronting Sky News. Let's play this clip because this is interesting because he's actually very critical of two media organisations here. So have a little watch and a listen of this.
A mistake not to declare the gifts from George Cottrell, sir.
You tell your bosses you harass my family anymore, and I'll take you to serious consequences. That's what your organisation has done this morning. Go away.
Mistake not to declare the gifts, sir.
Did you not hear me? You have broken all the rules, Leveson and everything else. Cut.
Right, but he's also, I mean, very angry in that, no doubt at all. He's also, in a tweet later on, Sky said, you know, after playing out that clip, we did not harass his family. He said, well, that's a lie. He said that is not the case, and that he says that he has actually, he said, this is an outright lie from Sky News. They hounded my daughter at home just days after the Times published where my family live. Despicable behaviour from the media. Now, it is the case the Times did a double-page spread about Nigel Farage's property portfolio. I mean, like, you know, what? He's a rich man. He's made a load of money. I'm a celebrity. GB News. He's, you know, he was a pretty rich man before he went into politics. Yeah, he's got properties, like a hell of a lot of people on front benches of every party, by the way. But there were pictures of the properties. It also said that his daughter lives in one of the houses he owns in a village in Kent where he used to live. And there is a picture of a number of houses, including that house. Now, with technology now, very, very, very simple for somebody to put that picture in, you cross-reference it with, you know, Google Street View, or that, you can find out where his daughter lives. Now, he's got 4 children, all adult. He is very protective of his children, as everyone is. I've got to be honest with you. I thought that was the wrong decision by the Times. I think you can't do that sort of... You haven't got, here's the address and here's where she lives. But given that he and his family have faced death threats, genuine, serious death threats. He has been attacked repeatedly and has had 24-hour security and has done for at least 10 years. I thought that was a, should we go with poor choice? But has he not, to a certain extent, got himself into this mess, Sam?
At the beginning of the year, when I went over and joined Reform, I knew then what was likely to happen, which was the British establishment, parts of it, are so terrified of the change that Nigel Farage is proposing to bring to this country that they would stop at nothing, and I mean nothing, hacking his records, leaking private information, and up to and including failing to provide him with security in the hope that he gets killed in order to stop him bringing the change to this country that I want and he is promising to deliver. And I am utterly convinced that what we are seeing now is a deliberate, systematic attempt to try every little cheat, every abuse in the book to get him. Do you know what? Like, whether or not Nigel Farage was correct in the fact that he believes that these donations were personal gifts and didn't fall to be declared for that, in a sense, it pales into insignificance compared to the problems that this country faces. And I am fed up with this. It is still relevant who is funding a politician. Sorry. I am fed up with this, Julia. We went through this under Boris Johnson, and we went through rounds and rounds of who paid for the wallpaper in his flat.
Yes.
And do you know what, Julia?
Because it mattered.
No. I tell you what mattered then was the fact that Boris Johnson was admitting into this country millions and millions of people who have permanently changed the character of this country for the worse. And not
it is
one
possible
journalist,
for people to care about two things at the same time.
The lobby,
I care about standards being upheld in public life as well as public policy.
Political journalists obsess about the minutiae, and we have spent hours and hours talking about the very tiny details.
I've spent the last 10 years on this station always speaking what I believe to be true, whether the establishment likes it or not. I've been sort of blackballed by a lot of them and quite happy to be so because of that. So no one tells me what to say. I've got no anything against Nigel Farage. I consider him a personal friend. I absolutely admire his policies. I think he's a very, very important figure. I would be very, very happy for Reform to do very well in the next election. So I haven't got any of that. I still think he should have declared this. I still think I've got questions about anyone involved in public life getting big sums of money personally from crypto billionaires or from anybody that isn't, their mum or dad, frankly. I'm so sorry. I just think he's made a horrible error here. That said, I do think, I do think the Westminster, they are trying to put the knife in, and I think they're going to fail in the same way that the Democrats and the Democrat-supporting media in America tried to put the knife into Donald Trump, and they are only going to increase the sense of grievance from people who support him.
Look, Nigel Farage represents a absolutely fatal change for the people who have got very used to running this country. And I am utterly convinced that they will attempt absolutely everything. At the beginning of this year, Dominic Cummings said precisely that. He warned in an interview with The Spectator that this would happen. It has happened. And I would just say to people listening at home, think very carefully about who is putting these stories around, what is their agenda, what are they up to, and what are they trying to stop happening for this country.
Okay. And I'd also say Nigel Farage, and, just don't give them the ammunition that they can use against you. I think that was a dumb move on his part. I'd love to hear from you. I knew we'd do this because I am so happy to get you back in the studio, Sam. We're going to get to a couple of quick calls. We're going to take a quick break, but the number to call is 0344 499 1000 to have your say on any of the topics we're talking about today. This is Talk. Good morning to you. This is Talk the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. I knew it'd be lively with Sam Armstrong back in the studio. You knew it as well. 0344 499 1000, number to call to have yours. So we haven't even got to half the topics I want to get to. I knew this would happen. Let's go to your calls, though, on ADHD and benefits. Paula is in Kilmarnock. Hello, Paula. What do you want to say?
Hi, Julia.
Hello.
Good morning. I live in Scotland and I have a daughter who has cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So in a wheelchair, obviously not going to get better.
Yeah.
And I have had benefits cut. So she lives in assisted living at the moment, but the government and social services have decided to cut all the hours that she's entitled to. So she's basically only entitled to 28 hours a week, which sounds a lot, but that's only 4 hours a day to sort of feed her, get her ready, all her meals. All her social hours have been cut. So nothing. So
How old is she?
She's 36.
Yeah.
So if she wants to get her flat cleaned, and they can't do that in the 4 hours a day, we have to pay for a cleaner out of her benefit.
And she can't do it for obvious reasons.
No,
So-
I'm a financial guardian. Even though I'm a mother, I'm also a financial guardian. So I look after her finances. If she wants to go out for lunch or go to the cinema or do something, we have to pay for that now. Again, that has to come out her benefit. So basically, they are paying for care for her to exist, but everything else is gone.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. But
People coming into the country and illegally claiming, and it's just horrendous.
so, I mean, so someone who absolutely needs it, who no one, surely, with vague morality, would have any issue with paying taxes to help support, because they're, but for the grace of God, go any of us.
Correct.
Not getting the help that she needs, deserves, warrants, but we're splashing cash on some teenager who's got some diagnosis, claiming that they got, bad attention span and can't get a job. I mean, and that is money that could pay for someone who could massively improve your daughter's life.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just her, Julia. I mean, she lives in assisted living, so there's about 12 people there, and there's some very, very vulnerable adults there.
Yeah.
There's people who, I'm forgetful what I'm saying, in case anyone knows who I am, but have been in trouble with the law before, and that's just going to get worse because they don't have the support they need. They're vulnerable adults and they need it, and it's being withdrawn for people who don't.
I couldn't agree with you more, Paula, because usually people go, oh, my child needs it. Yeah, well, we're not arguing about them. We're saying we need to be focusing on those who need it, and having, when everyone's got ADHD or everyone's got autism or everyone's got, then no one has to a certain extent. Paula, really appreciate that. Look, best of luck to you and your family. Christopher is in Cornwall. Christopher, what do you want to say?
Good morning, Julia.
Morning.
I'm originally from Australia, and having been educated in both Australia and the UK, I've just noticed that this has infested every English-speaking country. I know about 6 or 7 people of the hundreds of people I know who went to private schools like me. They're on benefits. When people do their leaving exams in Australia and the UK, about 35% of the wealthiest schools, their students are often on disability. It's about 3-4 times the rate of, say, someone
And they get extra time in their exams, that's why.
Happened in Oxford as well. I was considering going to Oxford for a summer program. I eventually ended up going to Poland because people, and even women, they wanted more women getting first, so they allowed people to have 25% extra time on their Oxford exams, and I just decided to go to Poland because it doesn't happen in these Eastern European countries.
They're kind of no nonsense, aren't they? So what? So I mean, this is all. Everyone gets a label. Everyone gets an excuse.
Well, can I be really honest? Look, Julia, I listen to your program a lot, and I really like your takes, but I have noticed that a lot of these industries where people are effectively mothered, whether it's benefits or careers advisors at university, it's an 80 or 90% female workforce. So I think that a lot of these workers are mothering them. They're not interested in fairness. They're not interested in helping people who are actually disabled. They're just using these students or these people who are claiming benefits for frivolous reasons almost as surrogate children. I know people should be empathetic, but it's just become so toxically empathetic in Anglosphere countries. That's what I'll stress. It's in Australia, the US, the UK, Ireland. You see Germany and France as well, but you see it far less in Poland or even Italy or Spain.
I completely agree with you. There's lots of evidence, so lots of theories about this, the feminization of things. And I agree. I do. I think in lots of cases men and women do approach these things differently. I mean, I don't. I'm 1950s, but there we are. Christopher, great call. Thank you very much for that perspective. I'm going to go straight to a break right now. We're going to talk to a columnist at The Sun, David Wooding, about all things political. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, welcome back. 10:39 is the time. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. Sam Armstrong's still with me, and we're also now joined by Sun columnist David Wooding. Good morning to you, David.
Morning, Julia.
Thank you. Oh, you're very chirpy. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. I just thought we'd lost you for a moment there. Right. I've got so much to talk to you about. I'm going to ask you, first of all, though, about Nigel Farage, because we had a right ding-dong, Sam and I, about Nigel Farage. He's going to be interviewed by the Standards Watchdog. It's not just this £5 million gift of money. It's also this help he's been getting from George Cottrell, posh George, the crypto millionaire. What do you make of this? Has Nigel Farage walked into this? And are there issues over, him saying, Sky and Times have actually, basically put him and his family at risk by publicising where his daughter lives?
Well, one of the big problems of getting close to power, as Nigel Farage is finding, and also Andy Burnham, in fairness, is that you come under greater scrutiny, not only about your policies, but about your spending, your funding, all various things which are going on in your life. And that's part and parcel of being a politician. I don't think Nigel Farage likes that element of it any more than Andy Burnham does.
I think Farage is getting rather more than Andy Burnham.
Absolutely. Andy Burnham's getting a little bit on the policy at the moment. But Nigel Farage is being questioned about, first of all, that he's already investigated about the Christopher Harborne £5 million, and now his links with Posh George are being questioned. And he's getting a little bit tetchy, I think, when you see him. So he clearly is a little bit rattled by this.
Yeah, I mean, he told me in an interview a couple of weeks ago, it's none of your business, what he's done with this money. And I'm like, I hate to tell you, I'm a voter, it is my business. And voters have a funny way of deciding. Is this, though, and a lot of our callers yesterday were saying this, and Sam Armstrong, this, a bit of an establishment, as much as one can say Nigel Farage may have, provided the ammunition, but that actually a lot of this is an establishment stitch-up. You were, very senior figure, at the Sun newspaper for many, many years. You worked in Westminster, been around Westminster for, let's face it, far too many years, both of us. Is this the establishment going, hold on a minute, we need to take this guy down?
Well, it's some political media outlets. I mean, for instance, the Mirror have barely had Nigel Farage off the front page, and it's clearly something they've got their teeth into, and they're not going to let go of it. In the same way that other papers will go for other characters. They are really going for him. But he's got to be able to to be able to muscle this one out. He can't just get angry and say it's none of your business. We have rules for politicians, and I think along with the Makerfield result, it has made reform. It's given reform a little bit of a blow, to be honest. And if Nigel Farage is looking a little bit diminished as a result of that, and the questions about his personal funding, then that's only going to harm the party. Because let's be honest, he is a major figurehead. It is him largely who bring people to the reform fold. They like what he says. He says it straight. He's in touch with what the ordinary voters think.
And people trust him. The interesting thing is, Kemi Badenoch is saying a lot of the same things now as the Tory leader, and is miles more popular than the other party leaders at the moment. However, she's still got the issue. She's got the Conservative Party to deal with, the Reputation of the Conservative Party, and it's very interesting. I know calls to JK's show this morning on breakfast, where when she talks about stuff, people go, well, okay, she says, yeah, we've made mistakes in immigration, and this and this and that, and people are going, well, yeah, but we don't trust you. Whereas they do trust Nigel because he's been saying the same thing for 20 years.
Yeah, but there is also an element as well of how much of this of these attacks on Nigel Farage are landing a blow. Because seriously, a lot of people have voted Conservative and voted Labour, and they've had 16 years of the two of them, and they're saying, well, neither of you can deliver what we want. We even voted for Brexit because we were so fed up, and that's not really given us the benefits that we want, because none of you are prepared to take the advantages of the benefits it gives. So that's why they all say, we think it's worth giving him another go. And that's his big plus point. But of course, the drip, drip, drip of this scandal, if that's what you want to call it, will have an impact. It's also meaning that we're seeing less of Nigel Farage on television and on the radio. And he is a major, major contributor towards Reform's popularity. So it is going to damage the brand, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, he needs to kind of front it out, doesn't he? And let's talk about Andy Burnham, you mentioned. And there's actually a lot of the stories we're talking about today. And these are all, come the 20th of July, going to be in his in tray. We've got, defence, a massive big issue. Kemi Badenoch today saying that it should be #1 priority for Andy Burnham. We've got, basically, it's not even a £5 billion black hole. It's a £15 billion black hole. And that doesn't even touch the sides of what the defence needs are. We've got the prisons issue. He's going to face, as Keir Starmer did in 24, this mass release of prisoners early, a third of the way through their sentence. We're looking at rapists, killers, violent offenders coming out halfway through their sentences as well. This is not going to go down well. We know a lot of these people do actually go on to re-offend. They are wrong-uns. And we've got the benefits crisis. We're talking about 100,000 people now claiming benefits for ADHD, PIP. So they're getting extra money, most of these people, on top of all their other benefits, the tune of, thousands a year. And most of these young people are aged between 16 and 24, never had a job, never going to get a job, no requirement to look for a job. The interesting thing is all of these stories tie in because they're all about what do you choose to spend money on and where do you choose to save money on? Which choices do you think Burnham's going to be up to making there?
Well, he hasn't shown his hand yet, has he, Julia? But there's a massive in-tray here, and most of the things in his in-tray mean, say at the top, give us more money, whether it's defence or whatever. And the only way he can get more money, because we're £3 trillion in debt, taxes are a post-war high, and so the only way he's going to get more money is by making cuts. So where does he make the cuts? He can't make them in defence. He's got to put more money into defence. Welfare is the one that hits you in the face. £330 billion a year going on welfare.
Well, most of that is pensions, to be fair.
Yeah, that includes pensions, but you've got the triple lock, which he's locked into, if you double speak there, locked into the triple lock, because Keir Starmer put that in his election manifesto, so he can't get rid of that. Although, will any party coming up to the next election tell the elderly people who are the biggest voters, who turn out more than anybody else, we're going to get rid of your triple lock? But that's going to be faced down at some stage. But nevertheless, welfare is the one where a big saving can be made. But he says we've heard Alan Milburn, the former cabinet minister, who's good on mobility and he's looked at welfare. He says he thinks Andy Burnham, from what he's told him, will be able to grasp the nettle of cutting benefits. However, only a few days ago, Andy Burnham was saying in an interview he's not in favour of crude benefit cuts.
He said he was going to do it. He said he wants to deal with the issues, but he's going to do it differently. And a lot of these things, like, we're going to coax people back. At the end of the day, you've got hundreds of thousands of young people who're never going to get a job if they're not basically forced to get one pretty much straight away. And that is going to end very, very badly. There's one final thing on Andy Burnham, interestingly, is that he's apparently not going to name anyone in his cabinet until he is actually Prime Minister. We're not going to find out who his Chancellor is going to be. And again, we know when they do these reshuffles, often it's very complicated, isn't it? Because someone says, no, I won't move, I won't take that job. He's starting from scratch. But if you had to put money on it, do you think that we're going to see Chancellor Ed Miliband?
Well, it's a 50-50, I would say, on that one. And I think, I hope he sees common sense and doesn't give the job to Ed Miliband, because that would spook the markets so badly. It would spook the markets. But he's playing his cards close to his chest. I think, in fairness to Andy Burnham, Prime Ministers don't do their reshuffle, A, until they're a Prime Minister, and B, until they've got everybody around the table. Because if he starts telling us what everybody's going to do, as you rightly say, when he moves the little magnets across the board in number 10, finds somebody's refusing to budge, then the whole thing goes out the window and he has to start again. So that's probably why.
There's a lot to wait and see, isn't there? Economist at the Sunday Morning, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much, Steve. Sam Armstrong, just a brief response to that. Is it tenable, though? I don't think we know a single policy other than moving number 10 to halfway to the north for some of the week, and nothing else from Andy Burnham. We know nothing.
Yeah, and let's be clear, this guy's about to become our Prime Minister, and the media, the press, everybody at the moment is prepared to throw absolutely everything at Nigel on the basis that this guy could be Prime Minister. We need to scrutinise him.
Could be, will be.
Well, look at the guy who's just about to walk through the door. Please, somebody.
There simply is no proper scrutiny at all. Andy Burnham, you can come on my show any time. We'll give you some scrutiny. I don't know anyone who should want to be Prime Minister or try to be Prime Minister, or certainly about to be Prime Minister, who should not be able to, in quite a lot of detail, talk about what they are going to do, their priorities, what their policies are. And I don't think we know a single darn thing. And again, once again, the media that did not give proper scrutiny to Keir Starmer is going to have a lot of egg on their face. They really are. 10:49 is the time. Up next, will Prince Harry have egg on his face? He's got a big court verdict over the latest allegations of phone hacking coming in a few hours' time. He's arrived in the UK without Meghan and the kids. He's not staying at Buckingham Palace, but who is telling the truth over whether or not he was invited, wasn't invited, could stay at Buckingham Palace? And does he need to stay at a palace for his security? We'll talk to the former head of Royal Protection, Di Davies, up next. This is Talk. Good morning to you. This is Talk, the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files was released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk the Home of Common Sense. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. 10:51 is the time. Let's talk royals. You know how much I love doing that. Former head of the Royal Protection is Di Davies. He joins us to talk about Prince Harry's latest trip to the UK. A very, very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning. Lovely to be back with you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Well, Prince Harry, I'm sure that's what he said to his dad on the phone. Prince Harry is back in the country. This was a long-planned trip. It's a year to the Invictus Games in Birmingham next year, so he's over here promoting that. But the plan was he was going to bring his wife and his two young children. They were going to be reunited with their grandfather, who they've not seen in 4 years. Given their young ages, that is literally a lifetime, certainly for the youngest, Lilibet, but also for Archie. Lots of discussion about where the prince and the family were going to stay. By all accounts, offered Buckingham Palace, which I think a rather, a peace offering, an olive branch from the king. But apparently, according to two different versions, one is that this offer was rescinded because of his court verdict likely we're expecting today over phone hacking. And the other is that, well, actually, he'd said yes, no, dithered, and then said yes too late for arrangements to be made. This is the bit I don't get. Buckingham Palace has got, what, 52 bedrooms and quite a lot of staff. Even at the last moment, could they not accommodate at least one room for Prince Harry?
Well, good morning again. Yes, of course they could. There are 775 rooms in Buckingham Palace and X amount of suites, which I would have thought could be put ready in a matter of hours. So I don't know what this is about. I suspect there's a lot more underneath the surface going on. It's turned into a debacle.
As always.
It's not doing any good for the reputation of anyone, Harry in particular, as far as I am concerned, because there's always a hoorah whenever he is here.
Yeah.
What people don't realise, he's been here 6 times in the last few years with no problems really in security. Yes, there was one female who got into the High Court. Well, it says more about the High Court. It says more about the High Court security than whether he needs full-time 24 armed protection.
That's what it all comes down to. If he's in a royal palace, there is protection there. If he's coming to a state occasion, there is protection, but he's not entitled to state-funded protection on this. Now, this isn't really about the funding of it, is it? Because they obviously pay for their own protection 24/7 back in Montecito in California. Realistically, this is about whether or not their protection can be armed when they're in the UK.
Yes, and that's the truth. And as I've said on your programme and others, the last time armed officers were required was in 1974 when Princess Anne was attacked by a lunatic. And unfortunately, 4 people got shot. But that's the last time. The truth is that this would have been looked at very carefully. Evidence would have been given in the court cases on camera, so you and I would know what was said. And then it's been looked at again. Now, I understand he would like it, his ego would like it, and I've no doubt his wife would like it, because they are, as I've said, and I'm not being rude, butlers with guns. They make things happen succinctly, quietly. This should have been happened quietly, below the radar. It's just annoying that each time
everything has to be publicised. But isn't the reason why it isn't below the radar is because he didn't get his way? Again, I'm not a big fan of the royal family as an institution, and I don't understand why he is not considered to be someone who needs to have proper levels of security. He is the heir, he's one of the heirs to the throne. He's the son of the king. He is a very famous figure. His family, he has had threats. His family's had threats, and he fought in Afghanistan for us. I'm sorry, it seems to me that he's clearly someone who would be at risk. I think it's a legitimate thing for him to have is security, armed security, when he's here in the UK.
Well, I respect your point of view. What I would say is there is a structure and system that applies to him. It applies to other members of the royal family. And I assure you, if there was any inkling, real inkling, not made up stories, etc., by some, that there was a real threat, then he would get it. And of course, if he stayed in royal premises, he would get it. The truth is, as we've seen in Europe now, he can slip in and out of Europe. He can go to various places without armed security. So what I'm trying to say is, in this country, compared to LA, where in the last 5 years there were half a million violent attacks.
Yeah.
This nonsense that this is a dangerous place is that nonsense.
That is a fair point, isn't it? Now, there's no doubt at all. You know, he's still quite a popular figure. I mean, we've known him since he was a child.
Is he really?
Well, I mean, not okay. He's one of the least popular royals now, but there are a lot of people who still, you know, grateful for his service to his nation and feel sorry for him. We remember him walking behind, you know, his mother's coffin. There's still something in our hearts, I think, for this little boy that we knew. Very, very much love lost little love lost for his wife. But I have to say, a lot of people, I think, I mean, who couldn't give two hoots about talking about the royal family from one year to the next, are sort of finding it all very bizarre that his children barely know his family. They don't know their cousins, you know, William and Kate's children. By all accounts, no opportunity whatsoever for William and his brother to meet up, and that the king hopefully might not get a chance to see his grandchildren. I mean, he's an elderly man who's had cancer. I think a lot of people thought that might be the moment when some family rifts might be mended. And, you know, the offer of the Buckingham Palace rooms, that's a clear olive branch. You accept that. And yet everything ends up just being a massive drama.
It is, and you're right. But let's forget there's another grandfather who has never been seen and has never seen his children. Here we are again. It's the Harry and Meghan show once again. If they did it quietly, below the radar, that's what I keep saying. All of this could have been arranged amicably if indeed all parties want it. Yeah. We clearly understand that the brother doesn't want it. It may be his stepmother is still seething from how she was regarded. All of this, I, with great respect, say to everyone, is much down to Harry and Meghan and the way they dish this family.
And which senior member of the royal family was accused of being racist about her unborn child, indeed. We've got that court case, a result coming out at 2 o'clock. It's been ongoing. It's the final one of a number of court cases Prince Harry's been involved in, Elton John and others involved as well, about phone hacking. This one involves the Mail and the Mail on Sunday's own Associated Newspapers Limited. That would be, you know, he would say a great victory he would see, but we know he'll be very unhappy if he loses that case.
Yes, and I know some of the journalists on the Mail and the Mail on Sunday. You couldn't wish for more decent people, as far as I'm concerned. And I hope the result goes that way, but that's just me. I know some of the individuals. Yeah. I know their history. I've known them for 25 years. You couldn't wish for more decent journalists. You're a journalist. Most journalists are fantastic and do a great job.
Well, we don't hear that very often. I've certainly had nothing to do with phone hacking.
No, you know what I mean.
I'm too boring and straight to do stuff like that, I have to say. No, that's very interesting. Well, we'll see what that result is. And again, it involves a lot of other big celebrities as well. Di Davies, we're always really interested to get your perspective as someone who's been in such a senior role, former head of Royal Protection. Sam Armstrong, 20 seconds for you.
Yeah, Harry and Meghan have managed to fall out with her parents, his parents, her dad, the British media, the American media,
most celebrities,
the American president, most of their original friends. Maybe, just maybe, that they're the problem.
There's a possibility they may be the problem. I do think every opportunity. Also, again, you'd be William or the King, and you're going, do I want to have a conversation with this guy, which is then going to be on Oprah Winfrey in 2 weeks' time, or in a Netflix documentary? And the answer is going to be a big fat no, isn't it? Love to hear your thoughts on that and all of the other, let's face it, more important stories we're talking about. Give us a call, get in touch. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, welcome back to the show. We're fast approaching 3 minutes past 11 o'clock. This is Talk, the home of common sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Whether you're listening on DAB Plus Radio, on your smart speaker, watching on YouTube, or your connected device, thank you very much indeed for your company. Delighted to say, still joining me is commentator Sam Armstrong. Woo, woo. He back. Do you think we can get you back regularly again? We've been missing you.
I'll do well, if we get some good callers in this hour.
All right, can you all call in? Oh, stop it. Can you all... That was a bit needy. Can you all call in and say how much you love having Sam back so we can keep him on the show? Good God, man. Anyway, if you miss anything from the show and you want to hear Sam being needy again, go to my YouTube page, the Julia Hartley-Brewer Show, hit subscribe, and you never have to miss a thing. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking more about the early release of prisoners. Kemi Badenoch is leading calls ahead of a vote today in the House of Commons, sort of just to stop the early release. We're not talking about shoplifters coming out after serving a third of their sentence or half of their sentence. We are talking about killers, rapists, other sexual assault criminals. I mean, come on. This is madness. Why are they being released? So we've got more space to put dangerous criminals behind bars. We're literally releasing dangerous criminals so we can put other dangerous criminals behind bars. I mean, come on. This is not a serious country. Also going to be talking about the World Cup. FIFA President Gianni Infantino facing growing calls to resign. When hasn't he, by the way? He was supposed to clean things up after Sepp Blatter. How's that working? Over the shenanigans of that red card for the US striker, which Donald Trump basically convinced him to overturn. Wow, what a bit of a shame that Belgium beat US 4-1 last night. They had the entire world behind them. Also going to be talking about what is going on at the NATO summit that starts tonight. I mean, basically all the world leaders just need to turn up and have a nice dinner tonight and just hope to God that Donald Trump doesn't berate them personally. But he may well do, especially given the state of Keir Starmer's latest defence investment plan. All that coming up, plenty more besides. As I say, Sam Armstrong with me. And we've just been talking about the Royals. I'm just going to start on that, just because we only had a little second, you and me, after talking with the former head of Royal Protection, Di Davies, on this. This court case coming this afternoon, results going to be at 2, so an Ian show. I always find it bizarre, these judges at the High Court, they hear these massive big hearings, and these are civil cases, obviously, and they have these massive big hearings. They go on for months and months, loads and loads of people involved, and loads of hearings. And we are talking about, I mean, an awful lot of people. This is not just Prince Harry, it's Elton John, Sir Simon Hughes, the former Lib Dem MP, Liz Hurley, Sadie Frost, and Baroness Doreen Lawrence, Stephen Lawrence's mother, of course, saying they were harassed and, their lives basically made hell by, they claim, illegal activity by journalists working for Associated Newspapers, publishers of the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday. They said it was an unlawful information gathering. They say that the allegations have been strenuously denied by the publishers as well. But this is the last of a load of courtroom battles that Prince Harry's had with the owners of this radio station included. There was a settlement there, other settlements and other awards have been made. Some cases thrown out, some not. He's also had the battles over his security with the Home Office. Well, effectively with His Majesty's government, with his grandmother's, now his father's government. He does like a court case, doesn't he? But a lot of people are saying that actually this one's not looking as strong for him because the judge has required this sort of burden of proof. Like, you need to prove that there was actually wrongdoing, not, as with normal civil cases, a balance of probabilities. So he's going to be very angry if this does go against him. Yeah, and there were some extraordinary revelations that came out in court about witnesses for Harry's side potentially having been offered money for some unrelated services, but maybe that was designed to influence the evidence they gave. If this goes against Harry, I really do hope that it is the big wake-up call, because it is going to permanently and fundamentally damage his reputation, that he has gone into court, he has alleged each and every act of wrongdoing a journalist could possibly ever commit. And if a judge looks at this and says, no, you haven't proved it, that will be very, very damaging indeed for him. Indeed, absolutely, indeed. I mean, we shall see. And again, there's constant, I do think, we mentioned this on the show yesterday, this sort of, this old woe is me thing, there's this whole I've got such a bad life, everything's so awful thing. It just doesn't sit very well with people going, you've got millions in the bank, you live in a mansion in California with your wife and your 2 kids, you're married, you've got 2 healthy children, you completely and utterly cut yourself off from your own family, by all accounts most of his friends as well. She's got form for this. I mean, she's, as far as we can tell, the only person she speaks to from her old life, is her mother. I mean, there's clearly a lot of issues going on here. They're both clearly damaged souls in a lot of ways, but the bleating about their poor, sorry lives, and particularly also, look, if there's been any wrongdoing, if there's been any illegal activity and phone hacking, absolutely abhor and condemn that, no question at all. Everyone has a right to their privacy. But when you sell your whole life to Netflix, when you give away, I can't believe this genuinely, not only the stories they told about the royal family and Oprah Winfrey, which so much of which was exposed as a lie, the Netflix documentary, including even, the video of the proposal, the things like that. These are some of the most private moments in your life. I look, do you see any pictures? I mean, I'll mention, my husband and my family. You've met my family. You've been. You don't see pictures of my husband in the public domain. I don't talk about his name. You don't know like where my my daughter's at university. Things like, I keep my family private and safe. I don't, you don't think I don't want to be yapping on about, what I'm proud of and what, putting pictures of my beautiful daughter on. Like, no, I can't, because her safety and her privacy matter more to me. And I find it extraordinary. OK, they put pictures of their kids, but they block out their faces. They just can't have it both ways. You've got to choose. If you want to be private citizens, go be private citizens, live a lovely, quiet life with your millions and be quiet. But this constant whinging and moaning and game playing, especially with the King and you've been offered Buckingham Palace. Seriously, shut the beep up. Take the room at Buckingham Palace and be grateful.
Yeah, and never forget, of course, that they have invaded the privacy of the royal family more than any other people
private conversations
in history. They tried bringing a camera crew with them to go and see his grandmother, for goodness sake. They have got their millions by systematically violating the privacy of the entire royal family, and then they had the cheek to come back to court and say, oh, someone else violated my privacy 20 years ago.
I suppose you have a right to violate your own privacy, but it doesn't.
But he violated his family's privacy too.
Absolutely.
Do you think his brother wanted those stories telling about him in a book, in a Netflix documentary? Now we've gone to podcasts.
No, genuinely, anybody. If someone published my private messages when we've agreed these are private messages, sorry, dead to me. Quite. Dead to me, absolutely. Also, if you're accusing people of racism, and you can't,
where's the evidence? Come on.
Yeah, where's it? And exactly. No, he's his own worst enemy. He really is. Look, let's talk about more important stuff. Let's talk about early release of prisoners, sex offenders included. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, she's urging Labour MPs to vote with her to basically change measures in Labour's Sentencing Act. There's going to be a vote in Parliament today. She says it's going to force victims to relive the trauma they endured at the hands of 6 paedophiles, because plans to release sex offenders early. And this is extraordinary. Under the Sentencing Act passed earlier this year, most criminals, including some sex offenders, will be released after serving just a third of their sentence if they demonstrate good behaviour behind bars. Some rapists will have to serve at least half of their sentence. Oh, thank you. But it's down from 2/3 under current rules. Now, 2/3 is also unacceptable. It should be full. Sentences should be longer. They should be running consecutive, not concurrent, as in like the child rapist, the Shabir Ahmed, the leader of the Rochdale gang, getting a total of 22 years. He served 14 years, out last Thursday. Can't deport him. I mean, we could. If I was in charge, he'd already be gone. And again,
there's no
here's the plane. It's taken off. Would you like a parachute? If they won't let you land in Pakistan, well, here are your options: parachute or no parachute, Mr. Ahmed. I just don't want these people here. You're not my problem. I don't care that you were brought here as a kid. You ain't British. Go. Go and be someone else's problem. But he shouldn't actually be out anyway. He should be behind bars. The idea that the government can say, well, we have to free up prison space. We could build. I mean, there are plenty of people behind bars who are not violent criminals. We could very, very quickly. We've got an army. They ain't doing anything else at the moment. They're certainly not able to fight a war at the moment. Let's build. Let's take some of those camps. They've got those boat people in, and let's just put barbed wire up. I don't think it's beyond the wit of man. And we can put a load of the so-called, non-violent offenders. We put those in those, so we free up space for violent offenders. There's no reason, where there's a will, there's a way. There's no reason why anyone has to be released early from their jail sentence, including, by the way, 2/3, let alone half or a third.
I am fed up of hearing again and again and again it parroted, we can't do this, we can't do that. Are we not the same country that fought two of the biggest wars of all time, that saw down, standing alone, the Nazis? Are we not the country that has one of the most profound navies in human history, that did enormous and extraordinary things, that created Concord and did this stuff? We can do enormous and amazing things as a nation. We are choosing not to do it. We could put them 3 to a cell rather than we could put bunks in for things. We could it's the summer months. It's the summer months, right? Make them sleep outside as far as I'm concerned, because you know what, the people for whom this is worst are the victims, of course it is. But actually we're talking about releasing 7,000 people in short order.
Violent men.
Violent.
Let's call them violent men.
Many of them sex offenders. We do not have the capacity in halfway houses where these people can be properly monitored. They're not properly
monitored anyway, even if they're released a few at a time.
And they're not talking about hiring more probation officers. So let's be very clear what that means. Dangerous offenders are moving on to a street near you, if you are listening to this. They will not be checked upon. Some of them will be paedophiles that will be a threat to your children, and the government is saying that, look, we all know what happens. There is a recidivism rate. You know, 30-40% of these people will go on to reoffend, and your child may well be the victim.
But hey,
we don't care.
What can we do? Well, also, I've actually heard a minister say, you know, we can't just magic up. So you don't have to magic up prison place. I mean, you can just build them. You've been in power 2 years. And again, I've said before, I'll say it a million times more. At the end of the day, I think people would be willing to pay more taxes to have more prisons. And this, of course, ties in with the next story I want to talk about, which is, again, we always say we haven't got money to do this or that. But we do have money to give, wait for it, 100,000 people, large numbers of these aged under 24, disability benefits for ADHD. No need to seek work. And this is extraordinary. This is up 40%. So it was 71,000 in July 2024 when Labour came into power. This April, 100,000. So even more now. 40 people a day are being given this benefit. Now, this is the thing. This isn't just getting benefit. These are getting PIP. They are getting personal independence payments for this. And this is the extraordinary thing. They're getting, 4 in 10 of them are getting the top rate. So that's £194 a week. That's on top of their other benefits, OK? No requirements to look for work. What I can't work out is if you've got ADHD, unless it's the most extreme kind, and even then, I don't understand why you need any extra money. As we were talking to a caller a little bit earlier, Paula, her daughter's got cerebral palsy, lives in an assisted living building. She's in a wheelchair. She's had her hours cut. She can't clean her home. She can't, you know, that's the thing. She needs someone to come in and help, and that costs money. They haven't got money for her,
nope,
but they've got money for some youse 20-year-old who's failed at school, probably sitting there on his Game Boy all day, or whatever it is the kids are doing these days, drinking his Lucozade, staying up till 4 in the morning, lounging around, probably having a spliff, and going, well, I can't work, I've got ADHD. What is going on?
And he gets a brand new shiny car as well. Don't forget
why
about
did you get a car if you've got ADHD?
Well,
if you've got attention deficit, I don't think you should be driving a car.
He can go down to the Volvo dealership and take himself home.
Volvo, is that what we're buying now?
We're buying them Volvos. They can buy Volvos, they can get the nice new shiny Volkswagen 4x4, they can walk in and get any of those cars. And by the way...
They can put £3,000 towards it from the government. From the government. The government hasn't got any money, it's our money.
Yeah, and
I'm paying for some youse who's never going to work to have a new car.
Walk around any housing estate in the country and you can... You can spot who's on benefits.
Yes.
Why? Because they have the nicest cars. Yeah. And what do they have to do in order to get it? They have to go to one Zoom call with somebody from DWP...
Who's also sitting at home.
Who's signing off 25 people a day. And each and every one of those costs us a minimum of 20 grand a year. Yeah. That's even before they get the health benefits. So we're probably talking about 30 grand a year. And then we wonder why we can't get an economy to work, why bills are going through the roof, why there aren't any good jobs left in the country, why the economy's going nowhere, why we can't put a navy out to sea. It's obvious, it's staring us in the face. You have to be deliberately, willfully blind not to see it. But I'm afraid the Labour Party...
I was just going to say, have you met them?
that run this country have long ago given up being the party of workers. They're now the party of welfare.
Most of this happened under the Tories. They didn't get on top of it, but it's getting a lot worse under Labour. There has been no incentive to do this. Keir Starmer's not got on top of it. I mean, even when he tried, everyone goes, well, he did try to cut benefits by £5 billion. No, he didn't. He failed to cut through a measure to cut the increase in benefits by £5 billion. It was still going to go up. There's no suggestion at all from anything Andy Burnham has said that when he's Prime Minister, as looks almost nailed on now, that he is going to do anything about benefits. Labour MPs, and this is the thing I find utterly bewildering about them. And like I say, I come from a Labour family, you know. I mean, Labour Party was set up to represent, it was the political wing of the trade unions, representing working people, working class people who wanted representation in Parliament. I mean, what I find utterly bewildering is why they are so intent on ruining the lives of people at the bottom of the pile by leaving them on benefits and making that an option for them. Children have been failed by their schools, failed by their parents often, who've got no qualifications, no plan, nothing, no drive, nothing, and say, that's OK, we'll give you a label and we'll just give you money to do nothing. Those children's lives, those young people, we're talking about 16 to 24-year-olds, they're kids, their lives are being ruined forever. Not working is really, really bad for you. It's bad for your mental health, bad for your physical health. You will die earlier. You will have a more miserable life. Every outcome for your life is going to be worse because you don't work. Work is good for you. Why the Labour Party thinks somehow they're the nice people, they're the moral people, they're the good people, because they're encouraging people who could be working, who should be working, who can be working today if they wanted to not work is, I mean, it's abhorrent.
It is. It's actually, in my mind, worse than that. It is a deliberate, purposeful racket that has been conjured up by the Labour Party, which is they have identified 30% of the population who are entirely dependent on handouts from the majority, and they are going to just shovel them money in order to keep them dependent on them so that they vote for them again and again and again. And you see this with left-wing governments all over the world, which is they identify a subset, they give them a load of money from everyone else, and then they get those people to vote for them in return. And that's what they're going to be saying.
Gordon Brown did that working tax credits, didn't he? Put everyone on the payroll and everyone will keep voting for
Mark my words, at the next election, what they're going to be going around everywhere, they're going to be finding all the nice cars on the estate, they're going to be going around and saying, don't vote reform, they'll cut your benefits, you won't get your nice Volkswagen anymore.
I just get, but again, I say this a lot of it comes back to parenting, when people talk about all these needs, I keep getting these things about, you know, these kids get these youngsters, they're coming out and you go, I've got a job against all the odds. No, most people get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's not against the odds. But genuinely, though, you look at the youngsters who aren't getting work. They're not being helped. OK, a lot of them being fed by school, but they're ones they've even got a degree. They're not getting work because they're unemployable because of their attitude.
And employers are crying out for good young people to hire, right? You go to any kind of provincial factory, warehouse, you know, a technical job around the country.
Do you do this a lot?
I do, actually, because I go around accompanying politicians.
Rocks your boat, Sam.
and you ask them, you know, what would you like to do? They said, we're desperate to hire British people. We don't want to hire migrants. We don't actually want to
I have heard from so many employers, from big industries and small industries. And I remember, I've told the story before, but, you know, I sat next to a work function and I was speaking at their event, chief executive of a major building firm, I mean, construction firm, I mean, huge, big firm. He'd started at the very bottom as an apprentice, you know, from working class lad, worked as well. And he was absolutely intent, he wanted to do the same. He was a really good man, you know, wanted to do the same thing. And he said, we've got a new project, wherever it is, Leeds, wherever it is, and we arrive at these places, we go to the job centre, we go, right, we've got all these jobs, you know, and all the opportunities, and look, here's proof, chance to rise through the ranks if you do well. And he said they can't even get enough people in for the interviews. People don't turn up for the interviews, they don't turn up for the first day at work, or if it rains on the Friday, they don't turn up. And he says, literally, you cannot get these young people. Now, my thing is, if your kid doesn't think that you have to turn up on a Monday with a hangover or after, you know, staying up to watch the match, if your kid thinks if the weather's bad, I have to go in, or I just feel a bit under the weather, then that's on you as a parent, because I tell you what, I was always, I mean, I don't know about you, and I'm pretty sure my audience, we're Alarm Clock Britain, certainly my child. But get up, go to work, go to school, do whatever. You do what you have to do and you do it on time.
But they don't have to, though, Julia, because the government will pay them to sit around drinking Scrumpy Jacks, playing Xbox, smoking goodness knows what. And look, I can't blame them. If they can make 30 grand for sitting around doing nothing, who can blame them for making a totally rational decision?
They'll never make that on minimum wage.
Yeah, and minimum wage requires them to go to work. And if people are lazy, you offer them a choice between sitting around doing nothing for the same money as they would have to do for getting up early, going to work.
Yeah.
And the tragedy is actually what is better for people, for everybody, especially people with mental health conditions, is the routine of going to a job and doing something constructive.
I just want to squeeze in 2 more stories before we go to break and go to calls. Just allied to that, we've had a report from the Treasury Select Committee today about quite absurd situation of student loans. Now, again, this would be of interest to anyone, not if you've got a student loan. If you're a student now, if you've got teenagers or youngsters in their 20s right now, even if you're older. I mean, look, student loans only started, I think, my final term at university. That's how old I was. I was paid to go to university. I was on a full maintenance grant the whole way through. But they've basically said that this is a scandal, that this is a Treasury Select Committee. They're a serious committee. They know their stuff, led by Meg Hillier. And they said that actually the comparing of student loan repayments in a lot of the bump sent to prospective students, basically, this is the same as phone contracts. They said that amounted to selling. People didn't realise, that the deal could be changed. Basically, they can change the interest rate at any time. The fact that they use RPI instead of CPI, basically a much higher rate of interest as a result, because a higher inflation rate there. But also the 6%. Okay, it's been capped 6%, but you start paying it off the day you take it, when they know you're not working full-time because you're a student for 3 years. It is just outrageous, these young people, that they are being saddled with this huge debt, often for degrees which aren't worth anything and won't get them a better job.
Yeah, and look, this all comes back to Tony Blair deciding that 50% of young people needed to go to university. So what happened? Oh, well, the money we were spending, we now need to spread that out over all of these people. And so what we're going to do is we're going to turn that into debt. We're going to tell all these young people that you need to go to university. That's the only career path for you. Most of them are going to do Mickey Mouse degrees, and it is pretty much 50% of them going to universities doing degrees that they'd be no better off than having not got the debt in the first place, done some technical education. And we're going to keep them on this merry-go-round, this wheel, making them run faster and faster than the hamster wheel. And why are they doing this? Well, because who are amongst the most reliable Labour voters in this country? University lecturers, university administrators, who are getting rich off the back of young people. And again, we are left with far too few people with the practical skills needed to do the jobs that the economy needs.
Absolutely.
Far too many people with a degree in gender studies from the University of West wherever who have got no skills, no use to the labour market, and are saddled with debt that they'll never, ever pay back.
I mean, it's just absolutely tragic. I mean, the amount that some of the people on our team, the youngsters, are paying, they're on that plan too. I mean, just absolutely outrageous. It's a Ponzi scheme is what it is. And also, by the way, the students who come over here from the EU that we then have to pay, and they don't ever pay their student loans back. Oh, brilliant system that. Just finally, we have got to go to calls. I'm going to try and keep this brief. Nigel Farage. He confronted Sky News over harassing his family. Can we play that clip very, very briefly of Nigel Farage basically being very angry with the Sky News reporter?
Is it a mistake not to declare the gifts from George Cottrell, sir?
You tell your bosses you harass my family anymore, and I'll take you serious consequences. That's what your organisation has done this morning. Go away.
Mistake not to declare the gifts, sir.
Did you not hear me? You have broken all the rules, Leveson and everything else. Cut.
Not a happy man there, and this was over. Sky said they've not been harassing his family. I've been told that they absolutely, again, they've denied this. People close to Nigel Farage are saying they are very clear that someone turned up at his daughter's house. The Times published a picture of his property empire, including a house in a village in Kent where he used to live, and saying that his daughter now lives there, but a picture of it. Technology now, I mean, very, very easy for anyone to find that address. But this is all about him being questioned. I don't know why anyone has to go and talk to his family. I have to say, I think that's absolutely, I would never do that as a journalist. If that is what has happened, they've denied it, but if that is what has happened, it's outrageous for anyone to go for anyone's family. People's families need to be left. The fact that, I mean, this is a man who has had serious threats, but has he not walked into this problem with all of nothing that would make that acceptable? But in terms of, he's now facing a parliamentary watchdog investigation into this 5 million quid from a crypto billionaire in Thailand and from his mate Posh George, friend of yours, you say, George Cottrell, over sort of support. All of this was before he came back to be an MP in 2024. Also, crucially, before he was planning to come back. I know for a fact he was absolutely not planning to come back as an MP. He was busy making money. I'm a celebrity, GB News, you know, various other things. He's making money. He decided to have a bit of... He'd done his bit for British politics, and thank you very much, and wasn't coming back. But should he not, when he became an MP, should he not just have declared all these things, and then it wouldn't have been a story? He's walked into this and he's given the, quote, establishment a stick to beat him with.
Well, look, there are rules about what you have to declare and what you don't. The rules say you don't have to declare it if it's a personal gift, if it's not a political donation, if it's not earnings, you don't have to declare it. He obviously took the view that these people were friends of his. There's no doubt about it.
But someone helping with your social media, that's not a personal gift. That's not someone buying you dinner.
What? But it's also not necessarily a political donation if you're not a political figure. But do you know what? In a sense, whether or not he took the right view there pales into insignificance compared to the challenges that this country face, the things that are affecting each and every person. And there are people in the media, there are people in government, there are people who obviously have leaked much of this information, who are determined to stop Nigel Farage, to stop reform, talking about the problems that face this country. And there are a number of other people who I'm afraid are, and I'm sorry for putting it this highly, are very cavalier at the least about whether or not Nigel Farage gets killed. And I think there's a real prospect for that, and that is why he's being deprived of police security.
Well, he has now got police security, has he not?
Well, he got parliamentary security, and then they took that away. I don't know what the current situation is, but he doesn't have... It is not comparable to what... I don't know who the Northern Irish Secretary is in this country, but they have...
And neither does anyone else.
Neither does anybody else, but they have 10 times the amount of security that Nigel Farage... They get armed police. Nigel Farage has none of that, because there are people in government that are quite happy. If Nigel Farage got killed, it would make their whole lives easier, and
I genuinely... Those people who cheer about when someone throws a milkshake in his face, I mean, they are...
That could have been acid.
Someone says even a naughty word to an MP walking outside, a female Labour MP outside Parliament, and they absolutely lose their minds. Nigel Farage is facing daily death threats.
There is
they don't seem to care.
There is nobody in as much physical danger for their job in public life in this country as Nigel Farage.
I've always said that, but... He walks into these issues.
So then
he needs to be more deaf as a politician.
So then he raises some money to pay for his security, and they're like, aha, we've got you now.
He says he hasn't meant that 5 million quid was not spent on security. He told me he hadn't spent it. He said it was none of my business.
It was the point he was trying to make is it was a personal gift, which means he's allowed to spend it on anything. That is entirely right, entirely proper. And look, we should not be distracted from the big issues facing our country.
It's just coming up to 11:30. Actually, we're going to take your calls, and then we're going to be talking about that FIFA red card scandal with Max Scott from TalkSport. This is Talk. Good morning to you. This is Talk the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk 11:32 this time. Let's get straight to your calls. 0344 499 1000. Vernon is in Staffordshire. Vernon, good morning to you. What do you want to talk about?
Firstly, you two, brilliant show. I love it when two very capable people go at it.
When are they coming in?
It was brilliant. No, it was box office. I think it's fantastic. Well done, Sam, for giving Julia a punch on the nose, and Julia, well done for landing one back.
Shall we get him back? Shall we get him back on the show? We missed Sam. Right, Vernon, what do you want to talk about, sweetheart?
It's very easy with regards to the prisoners leaving early. It's really simple. We built Nightingale hospitals within 7 days.
Yeah.
For me, you've got fields and fields all over the country.
Yep.
I would literally be building open air prisons with accommodation. I would have law enforcement, army, they'd be policing it. Not one prisoner would leave early, and not one prisoner would have a reduction in time for good behaviour.
Works for me.
Committed a crime. Be simple.
Vote Vernon, vote off and vote early, I say. Again, I don't understand what's so complicated about this. This is what everyone...
They don't want it, Julia. They do not want
the Labour lot
any of this.
And a lot of the lefty Tories who should be in the Lib Dems are under the view that prison is about rehabilitation. It's not. It's about punishing people. No. It's about deterring people. And it's about keeping people off the sodding streets because they're a danger to the rest of us.
Julia, it'll only make a difference when one of the politicians' families get hurt. Until then, nothing will happen.
Yeah, put a hostel full of rapists and child sex offenders released early next door to their houses. I think you'll funnily find they'll change their tune. But that's what we need to do. Vernon, great call. Thank you so much. Paul is in Cardiff. Paul, you want to talk about Prince Harry?
Yeah, morning, Julia.
Morning.
All this stems from the book that he wrote, slagging his family off.
Yep.
And until this country says enough is enough, and I think Harry's being told what to do and say by somebody else too.
Who's the somebody else? You mean Meghan?
Yeah.
But look, I mean, that's the thing. Look, there are there's quite a lot of husbands who get told what to do by their other halves. Quite a lot of wives as well.
Yes, I know that, but she still thinks she's in blinking suits, I think.
I mean, thank God she isn't, because she's really not a very good actress. She's really quite shocking how bad an actress she is. But this is the thing. Well, if he chooses to do what his wife tells him to do, that's up to him. But again, is it the poor little me act that he puts on that bothers you the most?
Yeah, it's pathetic. And she can tell him what to do, but that's in America. When he's over here, that's a different kettle of fish now.
And do you think that the King should say, oh, fine, you dillied and dallied, you're a pain in the backside, but yes, you can stay at Buckingham Palace, he's staying somewhere privately, and we'll provide whatever security we have to do, although I suppose he's not got the authority to do that, so that Meghan and the kids can come over? Or do you think that, that's all out of his hands?
Well, you can go and find a B&B somewhere.
He's probably found one of his posh mates to provide him with that. I mean, you've got to remember, people like Prince Harry, the very rich and the royally people, they don't pay for anything. They just stay in other people's expensive homes. It's what they do.
Yeah, I know.
I need to get myself some of those friends. Paul, thank you very much indeed for that. 11:36 is the time. Up next, what on earth is going on at FIFA? Have they finally crossed literally the red line that says that actually an awful lot of countries are going to say it's time to set up a rival to FIFA? We'll talk about that with TalkSport reporter Max Scott up next. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very, very good morning. Welcome back to the show. 11:38 is the time. Let's talk World Cup right now. TalkSport reporter Max Scott is back with us. Very, very good morning to you. What an exciting few days we have had. Yes. We're all recovering yesterday. I mean, there might have been an afternoon nap yesterday for quite a lot of the country, I think, after staying up all night, or as I did, getting up early to watch the England game. But the real controversy ended up being about the United States and this absurd scenario where Donald Trump gets unhappy about a red card for the star US striker, although then he admitted he didn't know what a red card was. But it wasn't a foul. He shouldn't have been banned from playing in the match they had against Belgium last night. Gets him reinstated outrageously, and this has caused an unseemly uproar, hasn't it?
Understandably so, because we're used to FIFA cozying up, let's say, to sort of the Arab states, whether it's Qatar, who held the previous World Cup, whether it's Saudi Arabia, who are going to host the World Cup in 2034.
Russia.
Well, quite. And so that is... It's not palatable for football fans, but football fans sort of accept it because they realise they've got very little power. When the US president and the White House has a direct line to the president of FIFA and can materially determine how things change on the pitch.
That's different.
Whilst we know that football isn't a level playing field, whilst we know that it's not fair, whilst we know that there's also these sorts of back channels that happen, if it impacts what happens on that green rectangle, rightly so, there is absolute fury. And this is a part, Julia, of a much wider package of fans, quite frankly, being absolutely shafted, whether it's the prices they're forced to pay for tickets, whether it's the fabric of the game changing because of the introduction of 4 quarters so that sponsors can get more money on hydration breaks. I mean, the whole thing is nauseating for fans, and this has been quite rightly seen as the biggest controversy of a controversy-filled
That's the thing.
World
We're
Cup.
all used to... I mean, you know, does anyone rightly think, you know, that Russia and Qatar won the World Cup as they did under Sepp Blatter for any reason other than money changing hands? I mean, give me a break. We know there's been so many scandals, so many investigations over corruption, and there was this idea that we would suddenly have a new FIFA chair president who would change things. I mean, who are we kidding? When he gave the FIFA Peace Prize to Donald Trump, I think that was the giveaway that this relationship was rather too close. But the outcry has been huge. It's not just about Belgium complaining before the match. Wonderfully, I mean, let's face it, the entire world were behind Belgium last night. They beat the US 4-1, quite right, since all 3 of the home teams, US, Mexico and Canada, out of the World Cup in the last 16, none making it through to the quarter-final. But the outcry has been absolutely huge around the world, including Jurgen Klopp. Is leading a lot of this, and now there is a lot of talk, and I'm really hoping this actually is the moment where you go, seriously, can we stop this madness, and can we please just put up a rival World Cup? There is talk of people saying, that's it, we're done with FIFA now.
Yes, I mean, you know, whether it's Jurgen Klopp, Jeff Stelling, former head of the FA David Bernstein, even Sepp Blatter and UEFA are looking like saints in reaction to this. So there has been a huge outcry ultimately for Gianni Infantino to resign. As we know, people with power often cling to it, so we don't expect Gianni Infantino, who has become a sycophant of Donald Trump and any leader of any nation that has any influence. And so he's not going to resign. No. What can happen is that a FIFA official can complain to the independent so-called FIFA Ethics Committee, which could result in a ban. We think this is unlikely. For example, the independent panel, which FIFA say decided whether or not to suspend.
Well, that's
following
it. Technically, it's suspended for a year, isn't it?
Well, that independent committee. One had no name to it, so when the judgment was released, way after the fact, there was no name to it, and so there's no transparency.
You've got to admire
FIFA.
the chutzpah. Part of me actually admires the total and utter we don't care, we're going to get away with it, we always do attitude, actually. I'm sort of like in awe.
Yeah, in a sort of infuriated way.
Yes.
I can understand that. And of course, the final thing is the only other way, if an independent committee can't get rid of Infantino, or if he doesn't resign, is via an election. That's in 2027. As it stands, Gianni Infantino is going to stand unopposed. And there are 211 FIFA nations, all with one vote in the next election.
And that's the issue.
Because Infantino has expanded this World Cup to be 48 teams, there are so many smaller nations who've benefited from the trickle-down sort of economic effect of that have much more money, whether it's Curacao, Cape Verde. And so in doing
that... To be fair, Cape Verde put up a good fight.
Of course they did.
Give them credit.
They've been wonderful stories in this World Cup, I'm not denying that. But as a result, unless the political pressure mounts even more on Infantino, which we're seeing in the last 24 hours it is, then we're going to have another tenure of Infantino, which is not at all what the football community want or need.
But there is this thing that's like, oh, what can we do? What can we do? The reality is, money talk. We know it's always money that talks when it comes to big sport.
UEFA need to say we're not participating in FIFA tournaments until you're gone.
Yeah, we take the whole of the big money. I mean, okay, the biggest money in sport is in countries, like America. Still not. It's actually the number one sport played in schools in America, but it's still, it's not as big as American football. That trumps, baseball absolutely trumps football in America. And obviously, there's an argument for having America as a co-host to try and beef that up. However, actually, the big teams, I know you've got your Brazils and your Argentinas, but your big teams are the biggest leagues, they're all in Europe. If they all just said, we ain't playing anymore, we're doing our rival, I'm sorry, that is where the TV company is going to want to be. And at the end of the day, the people who are paying for everything, who want to be sponsored. Do you want some little Caribbean nation or some African nation to be seeing your adverts, or would you prefer if a load of people in richer countries in Europe are seeing your adverts? Come on.
That would be the most effective way to get rid of Gianni Infantino. Well, I mean that question goes right to the heart of what is the point of boycotting as a protest, and does it work? You can say that in whether that's in the sporting world, whether that's in the political world, whether that's just in society.
We don't just boycott. We just set up a rival because there's I don't know. We've got this brilliant England team. I don't want to be boycotting World Cups and us missing a chance on playing. We just need to set up a clear rival. I think it's not beyond the wits of man. There's a level of corruption in FIFA that is just endemic to the system. The idea that you say Cape Verde and England get exactly the same number of votes in terms of deciding things. We know what's happened, and I've always argued, and it's like when we bidding for World Cups, I don't understand why we don't just accept we need to pay bigger bribes. That's how it works. Everyone knows that's how it works. Everyone knows it's corrupt to the core, and yet we play along with it.
I wouldn't say play along to it. I think
if we turn up and play, we're playing along.
The reality is, the sides like Cape Verde, for example, they know where their bread is buttered, but the bread's already been buttered. And so whether Infantino remains or not, I can't see, for example, Didier Deschamps, the current national team manager of the French team, there's rumours and whispers that he would be considered to be a fantastic replacement for Infantino. But what he needs is support. And so you talk about, the back channels and the conversations that happens that nobody knows about. I would imagine things like that are already in the pipeline. And so it isn't
beyond. And they want to present a fait accompli. We've got it ready to go.
And so I would like to think that there is some sort of coup in the
Donald Trump complaining about this red card, not even knowing what one is, getting that star striker, Flo Balogun, actually able on the pitch to play, but, still lost, which was the right decision.
A phone call couldn't help them on the pitch.
No, exactly, which is a good thing. However, there's even talk about should Keir Starmer get involved? He's at the NATO summit.
No,
Donald Trump's just arrived. Well, that's what I agree in terms of
we shouldn't stoop so low to it. If we're complaining about it and we're outraged by it, then we shouldn't play by those crooked rules.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be outraged. I'd be mad if we did. Even if it was Harry Kane who had the red card, we've got to stick by our standards.
Absolutely, I'd agree. And look, Keir Starmer doesn't have the influence that Donald Trump does.
I don't think we could give him a FIFA Peace Prize, a Labour Party Peace Prize. Listening to all of this, I say listening, Sam Armstrong, you're not the biggest footy fan, are you? But
I'm not. But you know what? I found myself disagreeing quite firmly in that, football, like anything, it is a business, and it is only as big as the amount of money, the amount of support that there is to support all these teams to come and play. And you know what? If we've got a bigger World Cup where football is getting cheered on by teams around the world, isn't that a good thing? Isn't there going to be...
We've got no issue with that.
What I've got an issue is with political interference in what happens on a football pitch, and Donald Trump has been allowed to do that.
Well, firstly, good on Donald Trump for backing his own team. And
no!
Yes.
I mean, he's got form for cheating at golf as well, hasn't he? So,
well, look, he's done right by his own country.
He hasn't done right.
That's what national leaders are meant to do.
That's like saying that, someone who encourages their kid to cheat in a school
I've
sports
never liked
day,
this. I've never liked this rule. If you get a red card in one game, you can't play the next.
But
they're the rules.
That wasn't the rules until 20 years ago.
Just because you don't like the rules doesn't mean that you should be essentially complicit in what is political
basically
interference.
what you're calling out for is a sort of cartel around the successful European teams, and you're a little bit like the Premier League teams that wanted to go off and do it their own way and just play with the other.
Neither justifies another. You're comparing socks to apples.
It's also supposed to be a World Cup final, not any team that has got an E in the name.
Well, they're going to get there in the end.
Sam Armstrong, I just want to clarify, knows nothing about football.
Yes,
I'm sticking with Mac. Right, yeah, shush. Talking nonsense, man. Not you, Max Scott. Listen, just finally, you've done some score predictions. I think you weren't on my show just for the last match. You got that right, though, didn't you?
I got the Congo result right. I said 2-1 England in Mexico, so I wasn't too far off.
Oh, you're right.
Norway 1-0 England.
Well, there we are.
It's going to be a cagey affair,
hold you to that. 11:48 time. We'll take a quick break. Then we're going to be talking about the small matter of, a NATO summit. This is Talk. Good morning to you. This is Talk the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files was released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk the Home of Common Sense. Well, I mean, gosh, we went to war over the World Cup, did we not, just then? Right now, let's see if we can have a little bit more peace talks or not at the NATO summit that's starting in Ankara today. Keir Starmer is going to be on his way. Donald Trump's already arrived. Hamish de Bretton Gordon, OBE, former British Army Colonel, joins us right now. Good morning to you, Hamish.
Hi, good morning.
Hello, thank you so much for joining us. I suppose the big worry from everybody at this NATO summit today is how much they're going to get berated and punished by Donald Trump, the US president, for not fulfilling the agreement they made a year ago. They were going to head towards 5% of GDP of every country to be spent on defence. We're at 2.7%. No real prospect of getting above 3.5% or even getting anywhere near that by 2035. Do you think Keir Starmer is going to be in the firing line for his new defence investment plan?
Well, I think Keir Starmer's going to be in the firing line. I'm not necessarily sure about the defence investment plan, which at least it has now been published, despite the fact that it's still probably 12 billion short of what we require to provide us with a credible conventional deterrence by 2030. I think it really depends which Donald Trump turns up today in Turkey. Whether he is going to be the one that does want to berate Keir Starmer and other leaders, or whether he is going to be the one that actually he sees a real opportunity. With Russia very much on the back foot, Putin struggling, Ukraine getting on the front foot and doing, you can't buy fuel in a lot of places in Russia at the moment. People are getting really hacked off. So, I hope it's the Trump that wants to get a peace deal. And, I think he's got a real opportunity here. Whatever's happening in the Middle East just down the road, and I know it's the 39th time he's created peace there, but I think he's got a real opportunity with Ukraine, because there are murmurings that Putin is ready to talk, and certainly Russian people seem to think that they're getting pretty hacked off with this war.
Well, it's actually becoming very real for the Russian people, and also, again, the huge losses, deaths and casualties of Russian soldiers, and it's not just happening in the perimeters, it's now creeping in. It's much more visible, isn't it, in Moscow and St. Petersburg, where Putin's power base is. I mean, we know. There's been an attack overnight in Kyiv. 26 people died, and they basically were out of the sort of missiles that they could shoot down. Those Russian missiles. Big concerns that they just simply don't have the supply of weapons they need. Is that going to be top of the agenda today as well?
Well, I think the whole armaments and support to Ukraine will be top of the agenda, and Zelensky, I believe, has arrived in Ankara as well to try and persuade European countries. I think he's kicking against an open door there. It really depends what Trump has to say with this. And hopefully Trump will be positive rather than negative. But you're right. Russia is attacking civilian targets, as we saw overnight in Kyiv, and lots of civilians getting killed, whereas Ukraine is attacking infrastructure and bringing Russia to its knees. So I hope Trump can see that, because I think he can do real good here. I know you've been talking about football and all the rest of it for the last half an hour or so, which of course is important.
But not as important as people dying in Ukraine.
To get peace here.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. My worry is always whenever Donald Trump gets involved in any of these peace talks, basically it's a mass surrender for Ukraine and a benefit for Vladimir Putin. So I'm always a bit wary of that. We've also seen this Russian spy plane yesterday dropping the news emerged yesterday. It happened earlier in the month on the 2nd of July. A Russian spy plane dropping tens of sonar devices in the path of UK's flagship aircraft carrier, HMS Prince of Wales, suspected to be an attempt to harass the warship, prompting RAF fighter jets to scramble. We're told again and again Russia is testing our resolve. But I mean, what should our response be? Because it seems to me they are taking the mick right now, and we are not responding forcefully enough.
Well, what we should do, Julia, is spend what we're required to do on defence.
This will help.
We get a lot of people, particularly on the left of this country, saying, "Oh, Russia's not a threat. They need to spend it on defence." Whereas we saw yesterday, this is really a demonstration of the hybrid war that we're in with Russia. They even firebombed some of Starmer's property recently. Yep. So people must realise that whether we like it or not, we are in this hybrid war with Russia. And the only thing Putin understands is strength. And we must show strength, otherwise they will keep taking the mickey, as you say, and they will keep pushing us. The Americans said last week that Russia is likely to try and attack Poland or one of the Baltic states.
And again, Keir Starmer, even before yet another delay to the defence investment plan, before we finally published it last week, was telling NATO conference in Munich that there was going to be likely an attack by 2030. We're not going to be ready for it. We've had Kemi Badenoch this morning saying that defence needs to be the #1 priority for the incoming Prime Minister Andy Burnham. We've also this morning had 2 of the 3 authors of the Strategic Defence Review authored on behalf of Sir Keir Starmer. This is Lord Robertson, former Labour Defence Secretary, former NATO Secretary General, and Sir Richard Barrons, former senior defence chief here. They've accused Keir Starmer of leaving the UK vulnerable. They say Britain has been left exposed to Russian attack. Now, these are the men he trusted for this actual review, and they are saying that even with this 15 billion, they said it's profoundly dangerous that they've essentially lost a year of mobilising for the possibility of an attack on NATO by 2030 by Russia, which the Prime Minister himself had talked about, as I said. I don't know how many more people we can have saying that this is an issue before our politicians do something about it. We know that 15 billion quid isn't enough. It's not anything close to the 28 billion that the defence chiefs say they need. But it's also not even costed. It's not even funded. So we don't even know where that money's coming from. What needs to be done? What needs to happen now? What should Andy Burnham do?
Well, Andy Burnham has said he will properly fund defence. So
what does that mean?
That is his marker in the ground, and let's judge him by that. And he has said, as Starmer said, that defence is the #1 priority, but we're not prepared to spend it. I mean, we're looking for, whatever it is, £12 billion when we spend over 300 billion on welfare. There must be some efficiencies in the welfare budget to be able to pay for this. So I think it's a stark reality, and no doubt Trump will go on about it again today. But in this country, I'm sure people understand, the majority, that we must spend what we need to on defence. Otherwise, Russia will keep pushing. Let's not forget the jihadist threat that hasn't gone away in shape or form.
And certainly, with Iran, I mean, the funeral for their late Ayatollah, 3-day affair yesterday, being treated, by the way, by a lot of the media as if these were some significant world leader as opposed to a murderous dictator. They've been very clear about their threats, not just to Donald Trump, but to America and to the West, to us as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, we must not just focus on Russia. That is the most immediate threat to us.
Yeah.
We need a credible defence and security organisation, across the piece to make sure that we're secure. Because if we can't guarantee our own defence and security, then everything else that we're expecting us at the moment becomes, sort of horrifically irrelevant. So
that's the thing. There's stuff.
Starmer by his first week in office.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that's optional in government spending. There's stuff that isn't optional, and for some reason they think that the defence is optional, and it ain't. Hamish to Bretton Gordon, always talking sense. Former British Army Colonel, thank you very much. Did pictures there if you were watching on YouTube of the US President as Air Force One touching down in Ankara in Turkey ahead of that NATO summit that starts tonight. Coming up, lots more to talk about with Sam Armstrong. We'll talk to Baroness Kate Hoey. We'll take a lot more of your calls as well. We'll also talk about that verdict in a French court today for Marine Le Pen. Will she be able to run for the French presidency next year? And more on prisons and plenty more besides. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good afternoon to you. Welcome back. This is Talk. We are the home of common sense. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. It's 2 minutes past midday, and whether you're listening on DAB+ radio, on your smart speaker, watching on YouTube, or your connected device, thank you so much for your company. Don't forget, if you miss anything from the show, go to my YouTube page, the Julia Hartley-Brewer Show. Hit subscribe. Never have to miss a thing. Coming up in this hour, going to be talking more about that prison early release, and Kemi Badenoch, leader of the Tories, basically saying to the Tories, sorry, the Labour Party, you know, side with me. Let's try and stop these early releases. A lot of you coming up with some rather sensible suggestions how to stop rapists, killers and other sex offenders and violent offenders being let out after serving, I kid you not, a third of their sentence. A third. I mean, we are a joke clown country. We really are. Plus the 100,000 people getting benefits. 10 grand a week, sorry, 10 grand a week, they wish, 10 grand a year top up on their benefits for having ADHD. Really? Really? 40% increase in just the last 2 years? Do you think these people are really, really in need of all that extra help, or are an awful lot of people swinging the lead? And our government is allowing it to happen, and we are paying for it while we're struggling to pay for defence and, oh, I don't know, more prison places to keep rapists and killers behind bars. It's almost like there's no joined-up thinking in government, isn't it? Plus, we're going to talk about Marine Le Pen. We've got a court verdict for Prince Harry this afternoon. And that court verdict is going to be about whether or not there has been any criminal wrongdoing, or it's a civil case by Associated Newspapers, the owners of the Mail and the Mail on Sunday, and any illegal actions that have basically led to invasions of his and various other celebrities' privacy, including Elton John and others. But in terms of political stuff, the big court case today is a verdict in Marine Le Pen's case. She has been banned from running for the French presidency, a 5-year ban on her running for political office after a guilty verdict for embezzlement against her last year. She is appealing that. We will find out, hopefully in the next half hour, what the decision is, whether or not it's overturned or she keeps the conviction but is allowed to run for office. Will she be tagged and unable to travel? We'll find out about that. Massive implications for the French presidential election next year. We'll talk about all of that and plenty more besides with Sam Armstrong, commentator, who's joined us once again today. Haven't seen him in the studio for a while. I have to say, big response. Everyone very happy to have you back here, as indeed are we, Sam. A question I've been asking, I wanted to get in touch with, particularly about these 100,000 people with ADHD getting disability benefits, no need to look for a job, up 40% under Labour. I'm asking, what would you do to tackle this crisis? You can give us a call, 0344 499 1000, text us on 87222, get in touch on X at Talk TV, calls to charge the national rate, text cost 1, standard network rate message. But it does seem to me, I mean, easy way of tackling it, you just simply don't let people sign off for ADHD. I mean, wouldn't that be the simple solution? You don't have to cut their benefits. You're just not entitled to them. You should go and get a job.
Honestly, I don't actually know why this is political. I think everybody in this country basically agrees with each other, which is what we want.
Apart from Labour MPs, you think they're all vulnerable people who need help.
Put aside Westminster for a minute. Put aside those people that are, you know, are really trying it on. Basically, everyone wants a system that's fair. That if you fall on hard times, that there's a safety net to get you back up on your feet. What people don't want is people claiming benefits for years and years and years. What people don't want is people taking the mickey. And what people want is for it to all be assessed properly with in-person, face-to-face appointments, which is what's not happening.
And hasn't happened. And the reassessment. So it's going to take 3 years to get through there. I mean, exactly. Look, we've just been told that at 2 o'clock today, Nigel Farage is going to, this is a quote, make a statement on my future in public life. That's a Reform UK leader. He's facing intense scrutiny over financial support, donations and the like. He's going to make a statement at 2 o'clock, he says, on his future in public life. Now, there's been a lot of talk about him possibly thinking of standing down. Is he going to go or not? Sam, before I go to Baroness Kate Hoey, who's waiting on the line, you're very much involved in Reform. You work with Robert Jenrick. You left the Conservatives with him to go to join Reform. are we looking at Nigel Farage leaving as leader of the Reform UK Party?
I preface this by saying I have no particular insight, otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it. But I suspect what we're about to see is a defiant Nigel Farage that says he will not be cowed by an establishment that is attempting to stop him delivering the change that he has believed his entire life that this country so desperately needs.
OK. Wow, well, we are going to be watching closely. You'll catch that on Ian Collins' show at 2 o'clock. Let's talk to my next guest, Baroness Kate Hoey. She's an independent peer, former Labour MP, and joins us now. Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hello there. I must ask you, we have lots of things I want to talk to you about, but this news that Nigel Farage is going to make a statement at 2 o'clock about his future in public life seems very ominous when we've had a lot of people suggesting on social media, in newspaper articles, like that, you know, Nigel Farage had enough of public life, had enough of the scrutiny. This referral to the Common Standards Watchdog over the £5 million he got from his mate, the crypto billionaire, and also this money in support and staff that he's had in the past, all before he became an MP back in 24, of course, from his mate George Cottrell. Do you think it's possible that he could stand down from public life?
I don't think so. I think we will see a defiant Nigel Farage, and I think also perhaps, you know, he needs to have a little break over the summer, because he has, when you think of the Makerfield by-election and then the local elections before that and all of that, and then the pressure he's been under. You know, no other leader has had the really horrible, nasty following by certain elements of the media about his life before he even became an MP. You know, I just reviewed the book that's been written recently about him by Ashcroft, and it is shocking indictment of just how everything has been piled on him. And I think there's a bit of wishful thinking here that, you know, they would love him to be saying he's going off and leaving, but I think he's very, very angry about what he alleges, and I'm sure it's true, that Sky turned up at his daughter's.
Well, let's play the little clip, actually. It's a very angry exchange between Nigel. And again, Nigel Farage is someone who usually very much keeps his cool, and, you know, and just, you know, everything, just, you know, water off a duck's back. But he, like most people, and I'm with him on this, when it comes to messing with your kids, that's a step too far. Here is Nigel Farage in his exchange with Sky News.
Is it a mistake not to declare the gifts from George Cottrell, sir?
You tell your bosses you harass my family anymore, and I'll take you to serious consequences. That's what your organisation has done this morning. Go away.
Mistake not to declare the gifts, sir.
Did you not hear me? You have broken all the rules, Leveson and everything else. Cut.
Now, I'm very angry exchange there. People say, oh, he's threatening Sky. But he's saying, you know, there will be consequences because you can make these complaints, and there are, you know, Ofcom and there are other regulators. But crucially, he's put a tweet out afterwards pointing out, you know, when Sky said they did not harass his family. I've been told by people within Reform that someone from Sky, or claiming to be from Sky, went to his daughter's house, and this was after the Times did a double-page spread where they talked about his property empire, various properties he and his wife own, and including pictures. There was a picture of a home in a village in Kent, and it said where he and his wife used to live and is now lived in by his daughter. But of course, technology now, very, very easy with Google Street Maps. Put in a picture, people go, I mean, I wouldn't know how to do it, you probably wouldn't know how to do it, but you know, other people do, and they can easily identify the house. Now, again, lots of people are very relaxed about, you know, sticks and stones. You can call me what you want, I don't care. You come from a kids, a lot of politicians will say, then all bets are off. Do you have a lot of sympathy with him on that?
Well, I do, because I think, you know, Nigel's family have gone through years of being, you know, knowing and seeing how their father has been treated by the media. And I can understand his anger. And, you know, people were complaining recently that, oh, we haven't seen Nigel Farage much, you know, he's hiding away. And yet they used to say, oh, Reform is a one-man band. Yes. Now they can't cope with the fact that they've actually got lots of people coming and speaking, you know, on the media.
So is this an establishment stitch-up? Is it? I mean, again, a lot of people say they're gunning for him, putting him under a level of scrutiny which other politicians aren't under. That other politicians have had big donations, but then those are donations largely to political parties which aren't declared. He could have dealt with all of this by when he became an MP, when Reform did so well in the 24 election, out of nowhere. I mean, from you know, standing start. If he declared all of this, gone overboard, just declared everything, there wouldn't be a story.
Yes, I mean, I think because he didn't do that, and that probably was, it would have been better if he'd done that, because he'd done, in
Kate,
his view, nothing wrong. It'd be interesting to see what the Commission say in Parliament. But of course, if they do have a go at him, he will have a by-election. And I'm pretty certain if he had a by-election in Clacton, he would win by an even bigger majority.
Yeah, but absolutely. So we lost
he has been treated. I mean, it is an establishment. It is. They are absolutely terrified, including the Conservatives now, of a reform government, and they will do anything. I mean, sorry, go on.
No, but I was going to say you can just see it in Parliament every time he stands up to ask a question, which is he's given a question as leader of reform every few weeks, and there's the instant booing and the. I mean, it's unbecoming. I don't think MPs from other parties realise just how bad it sounds and looks to us voters. But again, it's interesting. This constant thing on social media. He's never in Clacton. Honestly, and he's allowed people travel. I mean, people aren't in their constituencies all the time. They're either in London representing in Parliament or they're doing other things. But he does have a house, in his Clacton constituency, and he does spend a lot of time there, like most MPs. But this is the thing. Do you think he could have basically sidetracked a lot of this? And is there an element where he's kind of brought some of this on himself by not declaring, by saying to people like me in an interview, it's none of your business if I get 5 million quid from a crypto millionaire, and that's stuff before the George Cottrell story, which to a certain extent is an old story. We know about that relationship and some help anyway. But is there an element where he's thinking, nothing's going to touch me? Or is there an element also where he thinks he's Trumpian, his big mate Donald Trump, where you can throw anything at him and actually it just makes his supporters like him more because they feel he's under attack from the establishment?
Well, I think you just need to look at some of the feedback on Twitter when there's people really attacking him, to see how so many people are coming out saying, well, it won't affect them how they voted. But yes, I'm sure in reflection, he probably, and certainly people around him probably think that he could have handled it a little better than he did. Yeah. But we're where we are now, and there's no doubt about it. There is an orchestrated attempt to do him down, whereas that hasn't happened with any other leader. I mean, even Keir Starmer, it was coming from the people. Keir
Starmer wasn't ousted by his cabinet. He was ousted by the fact that his own voters decided he wasn't any good. Look, let's talk about other issues, because there's a small matter of people talking about the threat of Nigel Farage as potential Prime Minister one day. We are talking about a new Prime Minister coming in on the 20th of July. Keir Starmer's off doing his final bit of walking the red carpet at NATO's summit in Ankara. Meanwhile, Andy Burnham is getting, the most extraordinary lack of scrutiny. He did one LBC interview, and I have to say, it was laughable. I mean, I would expect to be actually laughed at in the street if I'd done the interview that Andrew Marr had done. I said, it may as well just given him a bubble bath and lighted some scented candles, rather than it wasn't a probe at all. We don't know what any of his policies are. We don't know what any of his views are, because he's flip-flopped and everything. And he's going to be facing, the mother of all in-trays, defence spending, 15 billion quid, not enough for defence, but also the 15 billion that's been promised in the defence investment plan hasn't even been funded. This massive rise in the welfare bill, including, we've seen revealed today, 40% rise in just 2 years under Labour to 100,000 mostly youngsters claiming for ADHD, getting 10 grand a year in their PIP payments, their disability payments, on top of their other benefits. I can't see for any reason why having ADHD means you've got 10 grand extra in your cost of living, and all of these other things. Early release of all these killers and rapists and other sex offenders and violent criminals from prison, because we haven't got enough prison spaces. But meanwhile, we haven't got cash to keep these people inside, but we have got the cash to pay for youngsters to do sod all day, claiming they've got a mental health issue. Andy Burnham's got a lot to wrestle with, but do we have a clue what he's planning to do about any of that?
No, I don't think we have on anything other than he said he was going to stick to the manifesto. Well, of course, the things that he has said already would be outside the manifesto, but he is coming in at a time when Parliament will be in just going into recess. There will be the whole summer when the media tend to disappear, a lot of them. And, he does have time before September when they come back to clear, he will presumably not not do any more interviews now, or very few, or very important, serious ones until he comes back in September, which gives them time to work out exactly what he wants to do, if he knows himself.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. We always sort of wonder, like, why is he not telling us? And it's like the same with Keir Starmer. Oh, we're not giving us much information. And even his own, chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, admitted they didn't have a plan for government and they didn't realise how hard being in government would be. I mean, this is quite scary.
Well, what is so perplexing is that, Labour were in opposition for such a long time. They had all the criticisms, most of it correct, of what the Conservatives were doing. And what you would have thought that at their higher echelons in party, they would have been working out how they were going to run the government. And it didn't happen. And so they went in with no plan. Yeah. And literally, Keir Starmer was blown away by each week by something new happening. It got diverted. And then, of course, he did want to spend a lot of time on an aeroplane. I mean, he does seem to like aeroplanes. Never hear Keir. Yes.
In his free gear. Worrying, denying that we've got 2 tier.
But I mean, this ADHD is really shocking, those figures. And what I don't know, and perhaps I should, and you probably do, Julie, I mean, doesn't a doctor have to sign something off?
No, this is the extraordinary thing. They don't even see anyone in person. It's done on Zoom now by other people.
So I could just simply say now that I've got I think I'm suffering from this, and therefore I would have some extra money.
Yes.
It's just balmy. And I mean, I think that really does show how ridiculous our whole welfare, the way we handle welfare. No one's against people who are genuinely in need, and families who are desperately in need. But they are suffering now from the fact that the real need, because it's going to people who don't need it.
Well, we had a caller earlier, Paula, whose daughter's in her 30s, in a wheelchair with cystic fibrosis, needs the help. Her support hours have been cut, which she needs to help her in her home. But they're cut. But at the same time, there's some 22-year-old sitting there playing his Xbox, claiming he's got ADHD, he's got an extra 10 grand in his pocket. I mean, it just, I don't even understand. If someone's got a disability that requires extra costs, we should absolutely be helping. There, but for the grace of God, go I. But why? Because you've got autism or ADHD, you're entitled to, a cheaper or a free car or 10 grand a year. What extra costs have you got in your life?
No, and I think this is something, of course, the previous government didn't do much to tackle it either. They might have been beginning to, but they certainly didn't. So Andy Burnham really could, if he really wanted a popular policy, because it is popular. People out there, hardworking people who get up in the morning, the usual thing, work very, very hard, and then they see their neighbour really doing very little, or their neighbours' children doing very little. So I think that Andy Burnham could make himself, a very first kind of stick thing that would go down extremely well if he was to announce that they were just going to sort out immediately some of these welfare issues.
And again, they think they're being nice by keeping these benefits going, and they really are not. They're insulting hardworking people. The hardworking people who working hard often in minimum wage jobs who they think they're representing, and they're not.
Well, it's like those people, Julia, who used to say, "Oh no, you mustn't let children compete at running, because if they're at primary school, you must let them all win, because it doesn't do any good to let some." Life is hard. Life is difficult, and youngsters have to learn very early on. And I'm afraid.
Well, they also have to learn that if you work hard, that life gets better, and it's a very, very clear lesson. I must ask you about one thing: having fair rules and everyone being on the same playing field. As a former sports minister, I must ask you about this big fuss of both FIFA, Gianni Infantino, and Jurgen Klopp. All credit to him, being one of the leading critics about Donald Trump putting in a call to Gianni Infantino, his big mate, and saying, "Oh, this red card, I don't know what red card is, but it wasn't a foul. I want the US star striker, Flo Balogun, to be able to play in this match." Luckily, Belgians thrashed them 4-1, and so the US quite rightly are out of the tournament. But Klopp, interesting, the former Liverpool manager, he said, "This is our sport, not theirs. If Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino really sorted this out between themselves, it's madness. It calls everything into question." Is this finally going to be the line that has been crossed by FIFA, that means that we are going to see a rival World Cup set up?
Well, I don't know quite whether it'll go to a rival setup, but it certainly will mean that his position should be threatened, because it really is. It's once you do this once, then you have opened a floodgate. We can all think of our own teams, and I can certainly in Northern Ireland when we've had things where you really, really were so angry, and the idea that you would get that overruled by an elected politician. I gather, by the way, that Keir Starmer rang FIFA to suggest that the time shouldn't.
Well, basically saying don't make the change because it's for commercial reasons.
It's still interfering, but I mean, we either accept, and I have huge criticisms of FIFA and UEFA actually in the way they're now working, particularly with supporters and the costs and all of that. But once you start to really threaten them with, in terms of an important political figure interfering, and then looking like they actually got their way, even though in the end it didn't make any difference, thank goodness. Then I'm afraid we are, going down a slippery slope, as they say.
Absolutely. Baroness Kate Ho, we covered a lot of ground there. Independent peer and former Labour MP, thank you very much indeed for joining me. Now, while we were doing that, because I'm a multitasking kind of girl, been messaging various folk at senior levels of the Reform Party, and answers came there none about what is going to happen at 2 o'clock. If you're just tuning in, Nigel Farage has tweeted to say he will make a statement on my future in public life at 2 p.m. That, of course, will be an Ian Collins show. He's been facing intense scrutiny over financial support he's got from his friends, his multimillionaire crypto friends. Sam Armstrong, any update from you? You're in the Reform Party.
Well, I've kept myself studiously uninformed deliberately because then I feel I can say something. I've never been in the business of revealing what I learned that is private. What I would say is this.
Are you sure about that?
What I see, having spent a little bit of time watching Nigel up close now, is somebody that is absolutely determined to give this country the once-in-a-generation change that he believes that he can do. And look,
he's not going to walk away.
We should be in
I think a lot of people would be very worried right now.
Well, look,
is that what he wants? Is he playing with us?
I've said if Reform don't win the next election, that's it. I'm going to leave the country because I genuinely believe that this country
are going to leave the country.
I genuinely believe that this country is in potentially inexorable decline, and that only Nigel Farage is a politician who's got the combined set of skills, the charisma, the consistency, the views to turn this country around. And I know that Nigel is absolutely determined to give that to the country, and that's why, frankly, I have chosen not to go and make more money living in the US or somewhere else in the run-up. So I think you're about to see a defiant Nigel Farage.
I genuinely really hope so. I'd love to hear your response to that. That's Nigel Farage making a statement at 2 o'clock. Your thoughts on lots of subjects. In fact, the calls, interestingly, are about Nigel Farage and particularly the pressure on him right now. Give us a call if you want to have your say. 0344 499 1000. We'll get your calls up next. This is Talk. Good morning to you. This is Talk the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, the home of common sense, for me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just to get you up to date, Nigel Farage has said he will make a statement on my future in public life at 2 o'clock. That'll come in Colin's show. Former UK leader on a lot of pressure, a lot of scrutiny over financial backers. £5 million crypto billionaire in Thailand, Christopher Hopman, and of course that's a kind, helping kind social media staff and the like from his big mate, Posh George Cottrell, as he's known. Investigations by the Parliamentary Standards Watchdog on all of that. Well, let's talk to you about that. Simon's on the line in Glasgow. Simon, what do you make of what do you expect Nigel Farage to say, and what do you make of the scrutiny?
Oh, hello there.
Hi.
I've been saying this for a while. It's Trump 2.0. There's no other word for it. Now, I'm not saying that Nigel's not done anything nefarious or anything like that, but, the investigation's done it. But
he's not accused of anything criminal.
No, well, this is it. But the thing is, if the Labour government and actually put as much energy into trying to go after their rival and actually use that energy to put it into policy and do what they were voted into the government to do, then we would be living in a utopia. But unfortunately, they don't because they've got no policy of themselves. So all they can do is just try and drag this guy down.
But it isn't the Labour Party doing this. He's been reported. OK, there are reports to the Parliamentary Watchdog, but there are rules, and there is enough of a question mark up over these rules. Even people like me, who have got no axe to grind with Nigel Farage, say, I think he should have declared this. I think he's made a massive mistake on both counts, and he's brought himself into this. But you think this is tantamount to what happened in America, where Donald Trump was basically dragged through the courts. That said, on a number of these cases, I'm sorry, I thought that they were banged to rights, and he should have been prosecuted for them.
Yeah, well, again, I'm not disputing that. I'm just disputing the motives behind it.
Yeah.
The thing is, you could walk into the House of Government, in the House of Commons and throw a tennis ball, and I guarantee you'll hit one politician that's done something dodgy and stupid in their life. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
They're all going after him, and it just smacks of desperation. I hope that he doesn't step down, because I think the party will be less for it. But I don't think reform will fall apart. I think that they've got a good base there. But do
you think he would walk? Do you think he would walk away if he's taken? This man has taken a sort of verbal beating, various milkshakes in the face, rocks thrown him, goodness what. He's taken a lot worse than this in his time.
Yes, I know, but when you start harassing the family, which I know that they're denying, but it's not.
I'm told categorically by someone who I think would know in reform that Sky News. They claim that Sky News did actually go to Nigel Farage's house where his daughter lives, which had been identified in a Times newspaper article a couple of days earlier.
Well, it's just beyond the pale, really, if it is true.
I agree.
At the end of the day, we want our politicians. I think it's been lost now, career politicians. It used to be that politicians, and it's a dirty business, but they went in because they wanted to serve. Now you've got the likes of Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham stands for Andy Burnham, let's face it. And it's not just the Labour Party, it's the Conservatives, and I think the whole thing stinks up to high heaven. But I think at the end of the day, this is coming down on Nigel because, quite frankly, the people support him. He's not. I don't believe he's a demagogue. I believe Starmer's a demagogue because he promised everything that people wanted to hear, and as soon as he got into power, he did the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And I just believe that Nigel Farage, if the pressure's got too much for him, I don't blame him. But I hope to God that he does stick by it, because if he doesn't and he gets hounded out, then I believe it's just another win. We've seen this in the Romanian elections, Marianne Le Pen in France. This is a serious thing, and it just seems like.
The use of these sort of structures and courts and things to basically, if you can't defeat people at the ballot box, this is how you do it. It's not a good look in a democracy. But look, bearing in mind that the people in power right now, best bear in mind, are the people who currently, the current Prime Minister spent 3 years trying to stop the enactment of the biggest democratic vote for anything in this country. That's what he did as Shadow Brexit Secretaries for 3 years till 2019. So, these people don't respect democracy. We know that. We know that for a fact. Simon, great call. Thank you very much indeed. Martin is in London. Martin, what do you want to say?
Afternoon, Julia.
Afternoon.
How are you?
Very well, sir.
Yeah, well, firstly, I don't think he's about to resign, and I certainly hope not. I suspect he's going to come out swinging, and he's going to name certain media outlets. That's what I suspect is going to happen.
I would put money on that, and I would very much hope that as well.
I do as well. I would be very, very disappointed if he was to resign. Yeah, and
Does Reform survive without him? And there's some interesting polling the weekend suggesting that people would, they would take a small hit, but actually there were enough. Reform has got enough of a name and enough people now, including my colleague in here in the studio, Sam Armstrong. His boss, Rob Jenrick. They've got enough people that they would still be able to stay ahead of the polls.
Yeah, I think it would. Reform would survive, but I think they'd be diminished because they've got some good people in the party that are good in the media, but nobody's like Nigel when it comes to campaigning and notoriety, everything that comes with it. And I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. It's the legacy media who despise Nigel Farage,
and they really do. They
really do. I mean, there's a certain rival radio station that I call Labour's biggest cheerleader, and I think you know who I'm talking about.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Yeah. Well, it's basically 24/7 anti-Farage on there. You've got the BBC, you've got Sky News, a woke news channel now that nobody watches. I mean, it's just non-stop, 24/7 now, and it has been for the last week or two, and they smell blood. And what Nigel's biggest mistake was with that whole £5 million issue. If he had just stuck to the story, it was for my security, I think this story would probably have blown out by now and we would have gone. But a week after he said it was for his security, he then did that interview with Harry Cole where he said it was a reward for Brexit. Yeah. And then last week he was telling everybody it's none of your business. He's handled that so terribly.
And unusually badly for Nigel Farage, because he's normally very, very slick at these things. Look, we shall see what happens. Martin, thank you very much for your call. Very interesting. Right now, as you know, the 2026 World Cup is in full swing, and TalkSport have teamed up with Meantime to create a lager in time for it all. It's called So Good Lager, which will be poured from all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. So whether you're watching the action this summer, settling in for an afternoon with your friends, make sure you check out talksport.com/so good to find your nearest pub. So Good is 18 plus, obviously, and please drink responsibly. I've got to say that bit. Also, of course, here at Talk, as I say, we are celebrating in style here as well. That's why we're giving you the chance to boost your bank balance with a massive £26,000 in tax-free cash. For a summer you won't forget, here's how to enter.
For your chance to win, visit talk.tv/win or text TALK to 8338 by 6 p.m. on the 20th of July 2026. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or send your name and number by post to Comp 1, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, to arrive by midnight on the 23rd of July 2026. 18 plus, UK residents only. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 8338 now. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, good afternoon. What a day. 12:36 is the time. We've got the start of the NATO summit. We've got Nigel Farage about to make a statement at 2 o'clock about his future in public life. We've got a court verdict for Prince Harry in terms of, the latest one, final, we think, phone hacking allegations that he has made. And we've also got a small matter of a verdict in a French court as well. But this could help decide what happens in the French presidential elections next year. Let's talk all about that right now with Anne-Elisabeth Moutet. She's a French journalist and writer at The Telegraph. A very good afternoon to you, Anne-Elisabeth.
Good afternoon to you.
Well, look, this is involving, of course, Marine Le Pen, leader of, as was the National Front, now the National Rally. She's been the long-standing leader ever since taking over from her father, and she, like her father, has run for the president a number of times and doing very, very well, better and better each year. She was nailed on as the favourite to win the next French presidential election to be held next year. And then, of course, we had a verdict for embezzlement, which scuppered that. Can you just tell us, to skip the background, what that verdict was about and what the punishment was?
The verdict was about the fact that the National Rally for years had used the monies that the European Parliament was paying to their MPs to parliamentary assistance in Brussels to pay for parliamentary assistance in Paris, so just for the party, and for party work. And she didn't embezzle anything for her own use, but certainly for years the party had, documented with emails and everything, had this, which is a wrong practice. So there's a court case. There was a first court case last year, and the ruling was that she was guilty, which I don't think many people dispute. And they decided to apply a new disposition in which, without waiting for an appeal, technically, when you appeal, you're still deemed innocent, and there is a retrial. This is what's happening. What was happening those past weeks, and what the judgment is coming today. And they decided that she would be ineligible for any kind of election in France, starting the day of this ruling, and never mind that she's appealing.
Yeah.
So
for 5 years, which of course covered the election next year.
Yes.
So she appealed, and so today there are various different things that we could learn today, aren't there? Which is that she could either have the verdict overturned. Many think that's unlikely. She'd be found innocent. All punishments fall by the wayside at that point, although there could be an appeal against that decision. Or she could be found, the verdict stands, but the punishment could change, or the punishment could stay the same. And the crucial thing here is she is the leader of, one of the most popular parties in France, and she wants to run for the French presidency next year, and she can't run if this verdict stands. Now, a lot of people will say, what's happening with Nigel Farage, although he's not accused of any criminal wrongdoing whatsoever, what happened with Donald Trump, and of course he was allowed to run for the presidency even if he did have any criminal convictions, or even frankly if he'd been behind bars, he would still have been allowed. That this was a political stitch-up by the French establishment against a right-wing leader, populist leader, who they feared could basically give a run for the money for the presidency. How much do you think that is the case, that this is not about any wrongdoing on her part, but actually it was a political stitch-up?
It can be both. Yeah, I mean, she's in the wrong in that thing. You can say, and that's the French attitude, is if you didn't line your own pocket, what the hell? However, it's also the case that French judges have been increasingly political for, I would say, at least the past 30 years, so that's not especially her, and that it seems very difficult for another judge to go against the grain of the crop of judges that we have now, considering that French judges are not former barristers. French judges are functionaries. They work for the state. They go to a state school to become judges. Yeah. They are supposedly independent, but there's queue left.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It sounds like you've got a very similar issue as we have here, don't you? Now, if she can't run, it'll be Jordan Bardella. He's led the National Rally as party chairman, but he's only, 30 years old. He's very young, very different background, although to a certain extent he doesn't have any of the baggage that Marine Le Pen has, because, of course, she being, there's the the daughter of a man, who had close links with, serious, fascist, Nazis. But one of the issues, the guilty verdict on the embezzlement is even the investigation, many have said in France, is part of the stitch-up, because basically, the argument was that all parties were at it. They were claiming their staff were doing, European Parliament work when they were actually doing, party political work. It's been done by everybody, and there's, we know, mass corruption on a grand scale in European Commission. They haven't had their accounts signed off, I don't think, in most of my lifetime, for goodness sake. And yet they only went for Marine Le Pen, because she was a populist right-wing leader who could possibly win the presidency. What would you say to that?
I would say that she went at it for almost 20 years, and for the others is a much shorter time, sometimes because they just didn't have MPs. No, it's an explanation.
Yeah.
That it's more egregious. I mean, it's far more money, it's far more time. That's what can be said. It can be, again, it can be both. It can be both a sit-up and be true. What's interesting about Jordan Bardella is in the beginning, I mean, he looked like the golden boy, clever, handsome, sort of slick. And therefore he went up in the polls for a bit. However, of late, Marine Le Pen has come back because she's got something that Bardella doesn't have. She has substance. She's a woman to whom voters relate. She has a human side that you cannot fake. And she probably would be a better candidate at this stage next year than Jordan Bardella. All of this is now up in the air, and we should know in about less than 2 hours' time what happens in this.
Well, we were hoping, when we booked you on the show, hoping we might already just getting the verdict. But these things are always delayed, are they not? But Emmanuel Macron, he's served 2 terms, and the reality is, he's not a popular figure, with left or right. He sort of came through as supposedly this sort of centrist figure, but I think he only got in the both first rounds no more than about 22% each time. But each time when they have a second round, so the 2 most popular candidates, often with only 1 or 2 percentage points more than the less popular candidates, they go forward to a second round. So French voters get to say, well, do I want this person, or do I most not want that person, so I'll vote that person. And the general view is that Macron has won it both times against Marine Le Pen by default. Basically, you're not the Front National as it was leader. She has very much rebranded the party, hasn't she? Taken them more mainstream. A lot of the issues over immigration that we've got here, over crime that we've got here, have been massive, and woke as well. They've been massive as well. She's been building on that support. Is Macron barred from a third term by the French constitution? And who is the most likely candidate that whoever is leading the National Rally Party is going to come up against?
There are many candidates. Right now, we've got 27, considering that we've got this 2-round system, we've got 27 candidates, and some of them will peel off before the start of the actual election process. But there are still several candidates. You have centre-right and centre-left candidates. You have the hard left, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is a kind of is Jeremy Corbyn amplified, and all the sort of hard left in Britain, same things, free Palestine, you name it. And accusations against capitalism, and there's the unholy alliance with the Greens. It's very similar, actually, as a political scene. He probably doesn't have a chance, but he can spoil the candidate on the left. And what's interesting, as an anecdote, is that François Hollande, who said that he would be running, has now become more popular than Jean-Luc Mélenchon, which really...
This is the former president, François Hollande.
Yeah, who left in disgrace and didn't run again after having talked to too many journalists who revealed stuff that he has said to them, because why was he talking to journalists? And he was seen as a bit of a nebbish, as they say in New York. But all the same, he could be a believable candidate on the left.
Very interesting.
Which is interesting. Also, if you look at Bardella and Marine Le Pen have been received together by 13 major French bosses, and it is believed that Bardella will be much more compliant in terms of more liberal economics, in the economic sense of the word, than Marine Le Pen, whose constituency is in northern France, and she is much more statist. She wants subsidies and benefits for people who will never find jobs again in places where they won't have factories again.
It's going to be absolutely fascinating. We shall see what happens later on today involving that case and repercussions there. No doubt more appeals. We'll see where it goes. And Elisabeth Mutet, French journalist and writer at The Telegraph, thank you so much for that analysis. Sam Armstrong, again, this is the use of the courts. I mean, that punishment, okay, guilty of embezzlement, every other political party was doing it, whether you do it for 20 years or 2 years, I don't see what makes any difference. European Commission, and the expenses system, completely and utterly corrupt, but they went for her. They're trying to stop a populist leader. far right, far right, whatever they want to call her, from winning the next election by borrowing her. That has got to be wrong.
It is happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Look around the world. Every time that there is a leader, I mean, I know you don't use it disparagingly, but we throw around the word populist. Basically, someone that is going to deliver the kind of
what people want them to do.
Country that benefits the 80% of people that are not at the top and not at the bottom, that are in the middle. These kind of allegations all of a sudden just appear out of nowhere. It isn't an accident. It's happening deliberately. There are people that do very, very well out of the status quo, and they will stop at nothing to keep it that way. It's going to happen in Australia with Pauline Hanson. It's going to happen here, keep happening here with Nigel Farage. It happened with Donald Trump. It's going to happen in France. Everywhere, it's always the same. But do you know what? It's not that working well anymore.
It really doesn't work out that well, does it? 12:47 is the time. Coming up, we are going to be talking about the bid to try and block early release of sex offenders. Who thought it was a good idea to early release sex offenders? Frankly, who thought it was a good idea to ever release sex offenders? I'm old-fashioned like that. We'll talk about this with David Shipley. Also, just to get a few more thoughts on Nigel Farage making a statement at 2 o'clock on what he says is my future in public life. That'll be live here, of course, on Ian Collins' show. This is Talk. Good morning to you. This is Talk to Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. Not just that the police have arrived at the Sandringham estate where Prince Andrew, as was now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is currently living since being thrown out of the Windsor estate. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation. And certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, the Home of Common Sense for me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Sam Armstrong still with me. We'll get his thoughts on this Nigel Farage statement, making a statement on his future in public life at 2 o'clock. Ian Collins will be in to tell us what's going to happen on his show, assuming, including that statement. First up, though, let's talk about one of the big stories today, and this is Kemi Badenoch urging Labour MPs, including, Mr Andy Burnham, an MP now, to back her bid to stop the government's plan to free sex offenders early. We've got the Labour's Sentencing Act, and this, of course, allows, and we saw it in 24 as well, the Tories had already organised this, plague on all houses here, to basically early release sex offenders, killers, rapists, you name it, after serving just a third of their sentence, if they demonstrate good behaviour behind bars. Yeah, but sadly not good behaviour when they committed the crimes that put them behind bars. Some rapists will have to serve at least half of their sentence, but that's still down from 2/3 under current rules. I thought we all agreed that 2/3 was too little of their sentence. Usually a sentence that is way too short, but half or a third is frankly an insult. Let's talk about this with David Shipley, who's an investigative journalist, a former prisoner himself. Good afternoon to you, David.
Good afternoon, yes.
We're if I hear ministers say we can't magic up all these extra prison places, we have to release people, otherwise the criminal justice system comes to a halt because we don't have any places to put violent offenders. And yet they're releasing violent offenders to let more violent offenders in. And they're not people who sentenced to a year behind bars, up to a year, not going behind bars at all. Isn't the solution to just build very, very quickly a hell of a lot more prisons?
I would think that would, of course, help. The problem we've got is the Tories spent 14 years essentially not adding any prison places. Labour have done a bit better, but actually two key planks of their prison building programme are sort of flagged by the government's own auditor as being unlikely to be completed or facing serious problems. So, like with many of the problems we have in this country, yes, we should just build things, but for whatever reason, we don't seem capable of it. You know, we apparently can't build prison places or reservoirs or power plants or railway lines. You know,
the things we actually need. I mean, I understand people are going to go, I'd really rather not have a very large prison, you know, near my village or not. But, well, we're going to have to override some objections, I'm afraid, because we need prison places. Is it that they are too difficult? I mean, I don't think you can just, you know, Lego build a prison. But a lot of us were talking earlier about, you know, why can't we do, as a caller pointed out, you know, Nightingale Hospital equivalents for the non-violent offenders who are behind bars. I mean, for instance, why not just move a load of men into the women's estate and move the women into who are largely non-violent offenders into these, you know, into makeshift, you know, short-term prisons, you know, which are effectively army barracks or camps. We could knock those up in a couple of weeks, couldn't we? Donald Trump managed to do it for a load of his deportees.
Yeah, we could and should expand the open estate and the low security bits of the prison system, because actually you're absolutely right. There are lots. You have to. Prisoners aren't one thing. You know, there are lots of people in for non-violent offences who would probably get far more out of their sentence in being able to do qualifications and work in real wage-paying jobs and pay taxes if they were in open jails. And what I've been arguing for some time is we should look at the point of sentencing. We should actually categorise prisoners. So if you're someone who's committed a low-risk offence, you're not a risk of absconding or escape, we should get you straight to an open prison. Because actually what you should then be doing is spending your whole sentence going out and working and paying taxes.
But isn't part of the punishment that actually you do have restrictions on your life, and there is a financial hit, there's a hit to you in terms of your good quality of life, in terms of your family life and your social life. That's part of it, isn't it?
All of those things. So I've been in an open prison and in a closed prison. I was in Wandsworth and I was in Holsey Bay. And Holsey Bay is an open prison, but it's still a prison. You know, you're not allowed a mobile phone. You're not allowed out of the area. You have to promise not to leave. There are rules. You're not allowed, you know, alcohol or drugs. You're not allowed to go to the pub. You know, you there are restrictions. You are in a prison, but it's a prison which is low security and therefore is able to, in a structured way, get people out studying or working. And I think the thing is, we've got to remember, prison places on average cost 60 grand a year. Yeah. Open prison places are cheaper. But actually, one of the best things we could have is people in prison going out 5 or 6 or even 7 days a week to work, to pay taxes.
But a lot of these people don't have. I mean, that's the reality. You're probably rather unusual. I mean, again, we know, you know, in terms of, you know, the chances of someone who's sort of, you know, educated, who works going into prison, rather unlikely. Often a lot of people behind bars, you know, they're not working, they're not capable of holding down a job, they're semi-literate or completely illiterate, they're on drugs, they're alcoholics, they've come out of care, they've been failed by everybody along the way, but they are. You know, they're not going to be able to hold a job down.
I think that's true of some people, of course, but actually also when I was in the open jail, I remember I met quite a lot of guys who were South London drug dealers basically, and they'd never had a job, and actually something changed them when they started going out to work each day, and they suddenly realised they were earning honest money that people weren't going to take off them. And you could see the habit of work building in a way which I thought was really impressive and transformational. And of course, you know, if someone's hugely addicted to drugs, they're not going to be able to hold a job. And then we should probably be holding the addicted portion of the prison population separately to the dealers, frankly.
Yeah, maybe we could try and not be getting drugs behind bars. Just find. I mean, I'm going to have to leave this here because there's some breaking news. But just in terms of what the prisons and early release and everything, the reality is, where there's a will, there's a way. If they wanted to spend the money, if they wanted to do this, they could stop this from happening.
Always right and everything. I think actually with sex offenders, we're far too soft on sentencing. You know, there are hundreds of thousands of men who are found with child sexual abuse imagery. We know they are very likely to pose a threat of abusing children in person, and we just never lock them up.
It's as simple as that, isn't it? I really appreciate you joining us there, David Shipley, who's an investigative journalist. Just to let you know, we have just in the last 5 minutes had that verdict on that appeal for Marine Le Pen, leader of National Rally, formerly the National Front in France. She has her guilty verdict for embezzlement of those European Union funds has been upheld. She is guilty, and she has been told she is ineligible to hold public office for 45 months. Interesting choice of number of months. France, but basically, I think that is just basically carrying on the 5 years that she was already given, is it not? She will be ineligible unless she appeals and wins her appeal. She will be ineligible to run for the French presidency, despite the fact that she is the leading candidate of the leading party to run for the French presidency next year. Your reaction to that, Sam Armstrong? Because, look, people talking about, as we mentioned earlier, people talking about, people going, Trump 2.0 in terms of the judicial attacks on Donald Trump. I think a lot of those were bang to rights, but the motive was definitely political rather than anything else. The absolute going for Nigel Farage when he's ahead in the polls. Marine Le Pen. I mean, I don't think what they were doing in the European Parliament was any different to what everyone else is doing in terms of their dodgy expenses and funding for their staff. But this is completely unprecedented to have this ban on somebody who is a likely presidential winning candidate from running for public office. This brings shame on the French democratic system, doesn't it?
Well, it would if it was just France, but it's happened in the United States, it's happening in Australia, it's happening in this country. The people that believe that they are running this country, that have ran this country for a very long time as it's continued to decline and decline and decline, know they can't win. They know they can't win. So what are they going to do? They're going to cheat. They're going to change the rules on donors so that just to go after reform, they're going to go dig up every piece of dirt they possibly can. Some of it has been obtained. It must have been obtained illegally. And they're going to get this information. They're going to weaponise it in the worst way. And they're going to do what it takes to hold on. Make no mistake, the people that have run this country will stop at nothing. I mean nothing to stop the change that Nigel Farage is promising.
I do find it extraordinary this is all happening at the same time. She's also got a $100,000, or must be whatever it's fine, and yet 3 years of imprisonment, 2 suspended, 1 year with electronic bracelets. So, of course, she wouldn't even be able to campaign for the next year either properly. Well, very interesting. Ian Collins is here, and you're still free to run for public office.
I mean, that leaves that doesn't put her party in too much of a problem because the young guy who's about 12, who's going to take over. He looks good, intelligent guy. Hasn't
got the same baggage she has, but she's kind of
iconic in that sphere.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. But again, I just don't think it's a good look for the French authorities. Nigel Farage is going to make a statement. He says, my future in public life at 2 o'clock.
I think what Sam said, I don't know whether Sam was talking the truth or whether it was a nice conspiracy theory. I wasn't sure. But that's absolutely the line Nigel Farage will take today. The establishment are against me. Spoiler alert, they're not really. They're just against everybody. And
I think they. I think.
Yeah, but the Tories claim that, Labour claim that, Reform.